Hi guys, how's it going? We're starting up the Mortal Portal podcast 5 minutes early. We've been waiting. Everyone's been ready for a little bit, so we're just gonna go ahead and start it. So we got all of our guests here today, and I'll just have them go down the line and introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Donsky, if you wanna. All right. Hi
What's up,
guys,
y'all? I'm
how's it going?
Donsky, leader of integrity.
We're starting up the Mortal Portal podcast 5 minutes early. All right, Space Ghost.
Not much more to say.
Yeah.
One of,
It's your
one of the
boy
best
Donsky.
trading guilds in MO2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Space Ghost. I recently joined Bear. I've been in there for about a couple weeks now. So I'm just a soldier, so peon.
It's a good life.
Yeah, I don't have to make any decisions, right?
Vic, you want to go?
Yeah, Vicness, leader of the Legion. Best fucking guild in the game.
All right, who's next? Assassin, Aldwin. What's
Well, I'll go
Okay.
ahead in that case.
you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Queen in the game.
Mhm.
I'm in Levia, and I'm just a random person from the internet.
Makes sense.
I'm
Last but not
Assassin
least-
from
Yep.
from Requiem, Empire Building Guild, and I'm an officer.
Nice. Okay. Dope. All right. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna talk about things in Mortal. We're just gonna go over different things and stuff like that. Does anyone have a topic they would like to start with? If not, I have something I can lead with, and then we can jump into whatever. Does anyone have anything they really want to get going immediately?
Not immediately, but eventually. There's some things.
Okay. So, last night, I came across a new exploit bug, and I'm just curious if any of you guys have seen this bug. Basically, it's something to do with spiritism, and the people don't flag criminal, and they can loot you and even put your gear on immediately and not go criminal. Has anyone else experienced this bug in particular?
No.
Not yet, but that sounds funky, man.
No, that sounds weird. I haven't seen that.
No? It was
Never
Yeah, I
heard
have
of
seen. I have seen someone was recording you, or yeah, I did see the clip that you posted about that, but it's never happened to me. No.
Yeah, it was my Nightmare Guild. They like 4 or 5 people all beamed me with mental projectiles just sitting in town. I wasn't even AFK. I was just doing something else on another tab, and the guy looted me immediately after, still blue, and then put my gear on, and that was it. Like nothing. It was like nothing happened. It was like I was gray or something, right? So, my character's not even red. He has no murder counts. So, it was just kind of crazy. I sent it to Henrik. He hasn't responded, but I'm hoping that they're gonna look into that, because that kind of stuff would be horrible at launch if people are just getting killed and they have no idea what's going on.
Isn't Spiritism in general kind of janky with respect to exploits? I think I heard somebody say you can use Spiritism to buck the Spider Queen.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know how it works, but I've heard people.
Yeah, I'm a
Maybe
Spiritus Mage, and I've never heard of those little bugs or anything like that. I know before when you'd use the Transcendental Awareness that you wouldn't see armor and stuff like that, so it might be tied to that. I could see some of the code there being a little jank, but they're working on it.
So I heard something about, like, if you call the Spider Queen or something and you cast a portal and you jump through the portal and then you come back through the portal, that you can pick up your stuff and the Spider Queen's not moving. I don't know how correct that is.
Maybe like the Spider Queen is registering you dead or something.
Yeah, like it registers you dead and it seals off the wall so no one can come in, and then it just sits there in the middle of the floor.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know I just did the Spider Queen for the first time the other day, and I know you can just glitch up and stand up on some of the rocks in the room, and the Spider Queen won't do anything to you. And I was a mage, so I could just range it, and it was pretty easy at that point.
That's wild. That's like the white bear, man.
Yeah. So I think it was because
Yeah, I
there
should
was
see
lava in front of the rocks, and you take damage on the lava, so maybe the AI doesn't want to walk there or something. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, Spider Queen should have a ranged attack to be able to shoot you even if you're up on the rocks.
Well, she does in a
It's got
sense.
the
She
web
has,
pull.
yeah, she has the web pull. It would sometimes pull me across her, but I just have to run back. Or sometimes she'll jump down on top of you, and as long as you survive that, she doesn't do an attack after. She just walks away. So, it's survivable. I was a mage, so maybe that made it easier. I don't know. I don't know if you'd be able to bandage up immediately as a footy, but yeah, they just definitely got some work to do left on the Spider Queen boss fight for sure. I had like an idea. I mean, like, what do you guys think if they were to implement no Dura loss to guildies? So, like, I don't know if you guys have experienced this. Maybe Legion probably has more than anybody else because I know they practice a lot. But like, I think it should be a thing that you don't have Dura loss on armor or weapons when hitting guildies. So, like, practicing and wanting to play the game and get better at it wouldn't be so penalizing, and you could actually use good gear when practicing without having to worry about you wasting materials on Dura. You know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think about that?
I don't know. It seems like that'd be some sort of like feel-good mechanic. I mean, if you're gonna use a weapon, you might as well use the durability on the weapon. You know, I mean, if you're gonna practice in dog shit gear like fucking iron bone or mulch or bone tissue, it's fucking laying all over the place. You know, it's not a big deal. It also, you know, teaches people how to be a little bit self-sufficient if they're scrimming, constantly dueling, constantly breaking their fucking weapons. Hey, maybe they dip into fucking armor or weapons crafting a little bit. I don't think we need to not make, you know, durability loss versus your guildies a thing. But that's just my opinion on it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
could
think
kind of. Oh, you go ahead, Donsky.
I think it's going to be less of an issue once they implement something like repairing. You know, you only need to have like level 50 in the weapon crafting or armor crafting skill to be able to repair stuff, and it brings a certain value to, you know, training with good gear. You know, do you want to train with the gear that you usually run out in the wild, like steel stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of agree with Vic on on those points, but the point I would like to make is when you're dueling with somebody, whether it's a friend or a foe, you should be checking your gear durability anyway. So that's going to get you in the habit of checking to see if your stuff's about to break or if you think you can last one fight.
Yeah, it would have to be something like an exception. For SV, they hate those too. How do you tell whether it's a duel or you're in like middle of group combat hitting your guys, you know, on accident? So it's probably something that the coders aren't gonna like.
Isn't there going to be a dual mechanic in the game at one point?
Slash duel, yeah.
Yeah, so you could easily just make duels not fuck up your gear dura. If that's, you know, that would be a solution that would be easy to implement, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're practicing like dual mechanics and stuff, I mean, really you can go out there and duel with a starter sword. Like if you're just trying to get better at something, right? So I don't necessarily think you have to be in full gear dueling all the time, unless you're just trying to like practice against like bone tissue, steel, or like different stuff like that.
I don't know. It just seems like a convenience mechanic, like a feel-good mechanic. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely not on top of the list, I'd say.
No, definitely not. They definitely got a lot of stuff they got to work on for sure. I don't know. Did they? I don't know if they fixed this. This is like another griefer kind of topic. Did they? Does anyone know if they ever fixed like when people would mage bang you and then log out to avoid murder counts? Did they fix that? Does anybody know?
I think you can still log out to avoid murder counts.
Yeah, that shit's crazy, man. Like it takes
That's
10
rough.
seconds to log out. It takes you 10 seconds to travel to Priest. Some people might try me running back. Like it's so easy. Just as soon as you die, you're hitting log out. You know, 10 seconds.
Murder counts are fucking meaningless anyway. It's all about reputation. You keep your standing up, then who gives a fuck what your murder count is? You know, you can still go into town.
Well, but they go hand in hand. You get a murder count, you lose rep. That's what
Then
they're
you go to
avoiding.
Rizars.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I mean, murder counts really only matter if you're in somewhere like Morinker or Hispalia, where the fucking Red Priest is like 30 minutes away, right?
Right,
Other
but I'm
than
just
that, it's
saying,
just
like,
standing.
it's allowing them to not have to go to do Rizar, so they can keep just sitting
Yeah,
in
yeah,
town,
yeah.
killing you as a naked mage. That cost them like 10 silver to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they should definitely shouldn't be able to avoid getting murder counted. Like, you know,
Right.
that needs to be fixed. But murder counts in itself, you know, it's not a detrimental fucking mechanic. You're not, you know, getting shit on because you're taking murder counts. There's ways to rectify that in the game.
Yeah, so I mean, if I believe right, you know, murder count only makes you spawn at red priest, and you can't assign a murder count to somebody else. Is there any other further mechanics to it than that?
Nope, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't even fucking bother about murder counts either. It's not that bad. You just get it, and even the standing, just go do risers, and you're good to go. Even though I would wish there would be some, you know, more elaborate mechanics on how to get reputation, because it's kind of boring to do.
Yeah, maybe eventually they'll add some like, I don't fucking know, some PVE like requisition thing that you can earn rep with or something, or maybe farming bandits. I still don't know why bandits don't give you rep, or like half the chance that a Ryzar would at giving you rep or something. You know what I mean? They're literally called bandits. Like, what faction is gonna want bandits in their territory? Like, why wouldn't you be rewarded?
Well, I'd like to be,
Yeah.
you know, PvP related to some degree. You know, if I'm killing fucking Tendrimic loyalists up in Fabridom, why the fuck am I not getting Kurite standing for it? You know, in the lore, like,
Agreed.
those are two factions that are at war. Why do I have to go fucking PvE to fix my standing because some small brain, you know, has to murder count me every time I kill him?
But what makes them a Tendrimic loyalist? Like, how does the game know?
Could be gauged on standing. Like, if you're liked in a Tendrimic provinces and, you know, that guy gets killed by somebody from the Kurite provinces, maybe I get a fucking standing point for it. I don't know.
Yeah, but when you
It's
do
important that to be
Ryzars,
looked at.
Or it could
well,
be time
yeah.
in city,
Well,
like
I'm just
time
saying.
spent in that city, you know?
Well, in
Well,
MO1, they had a you could join this faction mechanic, and there was a little reward system behind it and everything. I don't know how it worked. I really didn't fuck with it that much. I was pretty much done with the game by the time they rolled that out. But you join a faction, you know, you join the Tendrimic faction. You could do that. You could join the Kurite faction and say you're a Kurite guy who kills the Tendrimic guy. I should get fucking Kurite standing for it. I don't know. Like, they've had the systems in place in the past, so it shouldn't be that hard to implement again in the second game.
I think we'll see something like that coming eventually too, because the rep system's not even fully in place.
so if you were to do
Yeah,
that,
Henry.
where you join a faction and you, let's say you're fucking Curite and you kill a Tendrimic faction guy, do you then lose Tendrimic faction while gaining Curite rep? Is that what you're saying?
Sure, yeah, I'd take that trade. Fuck
Yeah.
the
What if
Tendrimic
your
province.
reputation's balanced out? How would that go?
Well, I
So
think
if I
it
have
was
like
kill
25
anybody.
rep and 25 rep in Curite, 25 rep in Tindrim, how does it decide?
Just
you know,
don't kill
which
anybody.
faction they're with?
Well, I think it would depend on which faction you join. Like, there was a literal NPC you had to talk to in order to join the faction in Mortal Online 1. So if you went up to that guy and you joined it, and you became, you know, a Tendrimic province's representative or some shit, and I kill you as a Kurite province's representative, I should get standing for it. Now, if you wanted to avoid that mechanic entirely, then just don't talk to the fucking NPC. Don't declare your fucking loyalty to a specific province.
So how does that cross over between like me as an individual in a guild wanting to join Tendrimic or Kurite versus how my guild is aligned with that faction as well?
I think it'd have to be a faction lock, you know, for that guild. I don't know. It gets pretty depthy, like whenever you start like peeling it back. But I just hate farming fucking Ryzars for reputation. I'd much rather kill players for reputation.
I don't
Yeah, I
think
mean, if there were bounties and shit, would be great.
I don't think you'd have to guild lock it though, because your guild would automatically know, like, okay, if half of us are fucking hated in Tendrum, but and then half of us are hated in Curite, it's just gonna split your guild. You're all just gonna make that decision on your own. Like, you know, we're all gonna go Tendrum, we're all gonna go Curite. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to live in the same fucking town. So what would be the point in being in that guild? So I think that would fix itself, honestly.
Yeah, true.
But I do like that idea. That's just another route, another option to grind rep that doesn't make you have to go to Risers. It's kind of like what people have been talking about, but it's not really the same thing. But kind of like PvP toggle. Like, this is a PvP option to farm rep. Like, you can use it or you don't have to. Whether, you know, it's up to you. Because there's obviously penalties to it rather than just farming Risers. Where Risers get you rep for everything. This would just get you rep for, you know, your hometown. So. I do like that idea a lot, actually. That seems pretty good. I don't see a lot of drawback with it. I think they would have to maybe make it like you like lock into that faction for like 10 days and you can't switch away or something, you know what I mean? But if they had that, then that would be like solid.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the whole thing because if you have guilds that are moving from town to town, like your trader guilds or whatever, like
Then
they're gonna have to align with all the different towns
yeah, but
or have.
the thing
Well,
is,
it was
it's optional.
yeah, it was an opt-in mechanic. You didn't have to. I
Okay,
never
okay.
It
opted
also
in for the
depends on how
faction
much you
thing.
kill and how much you kill without being blue. You know, like you going gray. Because I don't
Yeah.
really kill a lot while I'm blue.
Well, agreed, but then in in Donsky's situation, like there might be certain things he might need to do in certain provinces that would gain or lose rep for him that he needs as a trader guild, like to pass these items on to the next person.
Yeah, so it sounds like he just wouldn't opt into the faction mechanic.
Right.
Like,
Just
it's
stay
not
neutral.
yeah, it's not a requirement that you declare your loyalty to a province. At least that's how it worked in MO1. You didn't have to select one.
Yeah, it's more for people like in Victor's case. If he only cares about living in Vada, he doesn't ever use Fabrinum or something. This just gives him another option of gameplay to allow him to keep PvPing without slowing down his PvP gameplay to go do something PvE that he really doesn't care about. This
Right.
is just another option for him to do it.
And instead of going inside Fab to get a book, he called Donsky.
Yeah, there you
Hey, bro, I need you to
Take it.
get that book. I can't go
I
inside
got
Fab.
you, bro.
go. Does anyone have something they would like to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about fucking lances real quick.
Oh, little lances.
I watched the last podcast, and there were some opinions that I absolutely didn't fucking agree with. Like Chieftain saying that, they're working as intended. And when you look at it, like it's one of the highest primary point investment weapons in the fucking game. You need fucking, mounted combat, mounted charge maxed, you need lances maxed. You can only use them on horseback, right? So why the fuck is it hitting for less than 30? We're talking about a
So-
lance here, like a full metal fucking lance designed to put a hole in like 50 people at once, like you're going fast as fuck. You have this big badass lance. You go to brain somebody with it, and I hit him for 15, dude. Iron Bone with a tongue steel lance. How the fuck does that make sense? How is that working as intended? You got a spear, which is objectively a shittier lance, right? And it hits for fucking 50s and 60s sometimes. You get this crazy ass damage out of this spear. But the lance, which is designed only for mounted combat, hits for a fifth of that damage. And it's just crazy to me. And people are out there saying, they don't want it buffed. They like it how it's fucking, playing right now, which is insane. They say that, yeah, it's got a lot of durability. It shouldn't do a lot of damage. That doesn't make any fucking sense, dude. It should have a lot of durability, and it should do a lot of damage.
I mean, I don't play with lances, so I can't like 100% cover that topic. But do the lances have like pointed tips on them? Because, as far as I know, lances are meant for like armor breaking and dismounting and like knockback, right? Like I don't, unless it has like a spear tip that's puncturing through the steel and then puncturing the flesh at the same time. Like, I don't know, because like I watched a lot of jousting videos, and you watch these guys go at it on horseback, and they knock each other off the horse or break the armor off the person. Like I don't know, it's directly like a piercing hit, unless it goes all the way through.
Well,
So there's a
yeah,
Oh,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
without diving too much into realism, because again, this is gameplay. I think there would also just be the issue that it's such a investment in primary points. Why does it do so little damage, regardless of how real life may work? I mean, we don't have magic in real life. I don't think we want to do the realism argument per se, but I get what you're saying. But again, like if it's gonna cost so many primary points, why would it do so little damage? That doesn't make
Well,
nobody's gonna use it. Like at the end
I'm
of
just
the day.
on like if it's a real world weapon, like it should have real world consequences, right? Like of course
Well,
magic's
check it
not
out.
a real world thing.
There's a big difference between a tournament lance, which is what you're watching, which is designed to break, which is designed to unseat it. It's a scoring lance. If you
Okay.
understand how, tournament jousting works. You break a lance on somebody, you get so many points. You unseat somebody, you get so many points. Those aren't weapons designed to fucking kill you. Then you look at traditional warfare, heavy cavalry with lances that were designed to take people's fucking heads off. Like, you hit them one time, they're dead. You don't survive a lance hit in traditional warfare. Heavy cavalry was like one of the most sought after, units on the battlefield. It was a very expensive, like, your casual fucking foot soldier or whatever the fuck couldn't afford to be a heavy cavalry, lance using individual. Those guys were fucking murderers on the battlefield, dude. They'd kill so many people with lances. You put a heavy cavalry lance like charge into some like standard run of the mill infantry battalion or company or whatever the fuck, and they're gonna decimate it. It's gonna get wiped out in one pass.
Okay, so do you think that lances should have like a decent hit, of course, right? But then also like a fall like it should make the character animation fall to the ground like a, you know.
Oh, isn't there a blunt tipped lance
There's
tip?
blunt tip lances. There's
Yes, there's two
piercing
of them.
tip lances. The blunt tip lance is dog shit as well. It does no damage at all. It should be designed to dismount your fucking opponent or just do blunt damage in general. We're not getting either of that. The piercing one should be, viable against. It's like a use case. You build your weapon for what you want to do for your class. Same thing on foot fighters.
Right, right.
Like if you use a big ass fucking hammer, obviously you're gonna try to focus people who are wearing low blunt resistant, heavy armor. Same shit with a fucking MC. If you're trying to play for dismounts, you'll build a blunt tipped lance. If you're trying to play for DPS, you'll build a fucking pierce tip lance.
I believe that I agree with the premise that lenses are supposed to be the go-to weapon for mounteds, and there is something off with them at the current state. So my opinion though on the making them stronger than let's say a fucking spear or a sword or an axe, I think mounted has a much more general problem than weapon balance, and that's just how do you balance the mobility of mounted in general. So let's say you buff the weapons that are supposed to do super big damage on a mounted, you need to have some way of introducing a counterplay for all other classes.
I have that counterplay.
The way that you could do that would be to introduce relative velocity for foot fighters versus mounted, for example. So let's say if I get 4 gear charged with a dude with a lance and he domes me for 100, I should be able to also do 100 damage to him or his horse based on the speed that is coming towards me. So the damage bonus that people get through mounted should also apply to his opponent.
You're
I see
talking
what you're
about
talking about.
adding momentum to foot fighters.
Exactly.
No, it's more like if you're charging at me on a horse and I have a spear and you're coming at me, so then I just put my spear up. Like I should do more damage because of the speed that you're coming at me.
Pretty much that, yeah. So that would have a couple implications, right? Mounteds would risk a lot more when they charge you, but they also get the reward of do high damage. But they can get the same amount of damage to them.
So there's a mechanic in MO1, it was called Spear Stance, and it was designed to try to counter. It didn't function, by the way. I'm just going to preface it with it didn't fucking work at all. But it was Spear Stance, and what you would do is just put the spear in the ground and aim it at a fucking mounted. And if you ran into it, it would dismount him. It was the same as like shoving
Oh,
a fucking
shit.
pike through a horse's head, in traditional warfare. And if they introduced a mechanic like that, hey, that'd be sick. If they made it function, that would be sick. If I saw that as a mounted combat coming right into somebody with a spear and he got down into his little fucking spear stance, I would probably veer off of that. Now, when it comes to relative velocity for foot fighters versus mounteds, as a foot fighter, weighed down in, heavy armor or whatever the fuck you happen to be wearing, going, I don't know, I go 419, movement speed. Maybe you should do a little bit more damage for sprinting, but that's nothing in comparison to the, skill investment that you need just to get that velocity damage as a mounted going, that much faster. You're going way faster. Of course, your velocity should be taken into consideration whenever you're hitting somebody with something like a lance. Additionally, I agree that the whole, spear on MC thing, it's the dumbest fucking thing. They can go around at second speed. They can just keep poking you and poking you and poking you for 30s and 40s. I don't like that. I don't think that's very dope. You give me a lance, you make me hit with 100 plus for it, but you make it really hard to hit. Traditionally lining up and, couching a lance, it's not an easy thing. You don't just click it, hit a guy, turn around real quick, click it again, hit a guy again. That's not how lances function. You need to get, pretty far out, line it up. You have a very small degree that you can aim that lance, which is practically straight on. And you get your big hit, then you get the fuck out of the way. Do the same thing, line it up again. There should be a skill, like, ceiling for using a lance. It shouldn't be anyone pick it up and do a fucking million damage.
I mean, does the character currently couch?
Yeah, you can couch with the lance. You're just gonna hit for fucking 15. You have 45 degrees of movement with the tip of the lance before you do absolutely 0 damage. So there's still a window there that you have to hit, and getting your 4th speed burst right before impact and stuff, and you're still hitting for dog shit damage. Like it's just not dope.
Shouldn't that degree be less? Like, is 45 too much?
Honestly, yeah, it's a little bit too much. Like if you just look at I don't know. There's a lot of like physics that go behind it, but if you're running straight at somebody who's like off to your right and you kind of like hang your fucking lance pointed way out there and hit them with it, I mean, you're more likely to get knocked off your horse than they are to take any fucking damage from it.
Yeah, that shit's gonna take you with it.
So does the lance have like a way better reach than spears do currently?
Yeah, and it should.
Should.
That's why it was designed that way.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that lance definitely needs like a damage increase. There needs to be some sort of dismount function for the blunted lances. From what I understand, I think that's what they're kind of designed for, is that blunt impact force to knock someone else off their mount more so than doing damage. So yeah, I mean, I think these are things that definitely are they're probably looking at them because nobody uses lances right now. Like first of all, I don't see that many MCs either. Probably just because MC is not very fun to play right now. But I definitely don't see anybody using lances. So this is like their newest weapon class that they've introduced, and nobody's using it. I think they know it's a problem. So I'm hoping that Henrik and the boys are looking into it for sure.
I mean, if they would make it a bit more skill based, it might attract more people. Currently, it's very hard to distinguish from somebody that is very good at MC versus somebody that just picked it up. So you need to have some ways to introduce player skill that you have to get good at before you just expect people to roll with it. I mean, I certainly would play MC if I would see the chance. Okay, look, if I train this and I get very good at it, I can fucking 1v2 clutch to other mounteds, and I don't see that potential there yet.
I mean, circling back to MO1, a lot of people played MC, and it wasn't because it was a high skill ceiling class. It was because it was super easy to do, and you did a lot of fucking damage, using the class. But you could distinguish better MCs from, people who are just casually playing it, trying to get a leg up. And you could, as a better MC, take out fucking 3 to 4 people. I would do it myself all the time. Being a fucking, min-max best in slot mounted exclusive character, going up against, a group of casual fucking MCs. I could destroy them all. And I'd like to see that sort of...
Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I'd like to see some sort of, I guess, reflection in MO2 for, investment in the class, best in slot usage, and training to be able to hit with a lance or something like that. I'd like to see that, but right now the class is just slow, it's cumbersome, it's a dice roll essentially. You have to use weird weapon combinations just to get anything out of the class, and it's just not very dope. People don't play it because it's just not dope right now, dude.
What you just said makes sense. It's exactly what I was going here. So, being able to hit with a lance is not just a question of the skill points that you invest into your character. It's also, your skill with fucking mouse and keyboard. So, for example, if you have these days a foot archer has sway, he needs to aim. If you have a mounted archer, these guys don't have sway. The point where I'm trying to get at is you need to introduce some mechanics into the gameplay that actually foster player skill behind the computer.
I mean, I agree with those points. I just don't want to see MO2 become just a mounted online, like everybody's going for mounts because that's, it's just mounts versus mounts. Like I want to see every class have a way to counter another class, whether it's skill based, like Vic said, like putting a spear in the ground to counter a mounted. Like we need all these different situations to where we can counter a mounted or we can counter a magic, instead of everybody just rushing to one class because it does the most damage.
No, I mean, yes, fixing mounted is actually not a problem. Just introduce relative velocity, introduce the reduction or the speed off of your horse based on the damage it gets hit. A fucking level 1 horse shouldn't act the same way than a level 125 horse in full armor. So, for example, if a shit horse gets hit by big damage, it should reduce a gear or so. Additionally, switching gear should take time. You shouldn't be able to speed up to 4 speed by just pressing W a couple times. There's a lot you could do with mounted that would allow the player skill to influence what's happening on the battlefield. But the system of mounted combat is just not elaborated enough, in my opinion.
There are a lot of counterplays to mounteds currently, and I can list them off. The first one, which isn't functioning currently but will be very soon, is EQ mages. And when you look at it, objectively, an EQ mage probably spends, I don't know, less than 10 gold. Right there, you have the counter to the mounted combat. Because the mounted combat has to get within hit range of you, and you can just cast fucking Earthquake. Wham, bam, kazam, the guy's on the ground, your fucking boys jump on him, kill his horse, kill him. It's the easiest counter to mounted play in general. Additionally, you have dismount weapons for foot fighters, so that you don't have to rely on an EQ mage. You could use a hammer, you could use a fucking axe. If you time your fucking hit right, you hit the horse head, wham bam kazam, you fucking dismounted a mounted combat again, all your boys jump on them, it's the same thing. Additionally, you have terrain, you have water, you have hills and slopes, things that foot fighters would have access to that would make them entirely inaccessible to a mounted combat. And the only reason I can, talk so much on this is because I played mounted combat for about 8 fucking years. If I saw a guy running up a mountain, oh well, he got away, oh well. See him getting in the water, okay, he escaped. I see a little fucking naked mage running up to me in front of a foot group, hey, I'm not charging that. That's a fucking EQ mage waiting to blow my brain out, it comes down to the player to understand the mechanics that already are available to you. Terrain, knowing your fucking environment, knowing what a mounted would get stuck on. I'd get stuck on everything. The tiniest little rock in the ground. I'm full charging at you going fucking, 580 speed with a lance trained right on your brain. I'm about to hit you. And you just step in front of it. The tiniest rock. I'm going to stop instantly. There goes my charge. It's canceled. Making it easier versus knowing the game and how to play it. And I'm not of the opinion that we should just make it easy as fuck to just counter MC, which it was. It was for a very long time, especially towards the end of Mortal Online 1, the easiest fucking thing in the world to counter MC. You had fist weapons, you had triple strike, you had dual strike, people using a dagger and a torch handle could use dual strike and hit your mount for over 200 damage, dismount you, your horse would be half dead, and it was the easiest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, but we're not talking about MO1. Like, we need to, if we talk about game balance, we need to look what is right now in the game and how can we improve it in a near future, not in like fucking 5 years.
You guys are getting EQ dismounts very soon. You guys are getting the dismount mechanic reworked very soon. You can already dismount with blunt axes, blunt hammers. Additionally, a fucking longbow, foot archer can blow a horse up like it's their fucking job, dude. So, there are mechanics available. Terrain, additionally, I get stuck on everything in MO2. I go through woods, I have to stick to roads. I have to stick to very clear valleys and paths. There's not a lot of open, flat steps in MO2. It's mostly woods, it's mostly mountains. So, as a foot fighter, you should be conscious of that. You should know, hey, maybe I shouldn't walk in this big, flat area, just in case there's a fucking mounted group out there. Because that's their territory, bro. That's where they're designed to play. That's where they're designed to be the best. So, and you have the woods, run into the woods. You don't have to worry about mountains.
Tree lines.
Climb a hill. Play on a mountain. GK, no shot a fucking MC can do anything in GK. That city is literally foot territory. It would be suicide. I think it just comes down on the player more than it comes down on Star Vault to completely nuke a class into the ground like they've done for the past 9 years in MO1, and I'm afraid that they're going to do in Mortal Online 2. Nobody's going to fucking play it. It'll be a useless class.
How did the things that I suggested before, though, just nuke mounted combat? It will actually make it pretty even.
I agree that what you're saying is good, but I don't think it should be for free. Like Vic said, it should cost you primary points to invest into to counteract. It shouldn't be just for free. I can agree with that. Like on both
That's
sides.
a fair point, yeah.
Yeah, that should be skill-based, too. Like dismount, like you shouldn't just have like a certain weapon that does like so much blunt damage. Like you should still have the skill, like
isn't
extended reach or something.
Isn't investing in the weapon primary points already the investment that you seek?
Yeah, but a hammer is what, 100 points?
Yeah, but nobody really uses hammers unless you're going for dismounts, anyways. So
It's
Yeah,
not
and
typically easy to
knockback,
dismount a mounted
knockdown.
player who knows
Yeah,
what they're
knockback
doing.
and knockdown is essentially
Yeah.
for free already. It would be really overpowered to get the third one for free as well. You know what I mean?
You already have the easiest knockdown in the world for mounted. It's a fucking earthquake mage. Costs less than 10 gold. Congrats, you've countered the mounted
Well, yeah.
class.
Let's not talk about mages. I mean, they have a huge problem anyway. Like the investment
Yeah.
costs are ridiculous. They can't cast on a mount without investing big, so they have their own problems.
Yeah, foot
Mages
fighters-
have a huge investment cost off the bat. I do have to say that as a mage, like a lot of people do say that, oh, it's really easy just to get this and to get that. But as a mage, starting off, I know that it's 250 gold right off the bat just to get to a full build.
are
Bro,
you
that's a-
including
that's a
Tamer
one-
or?
Yeah, including Tamer, of course.
So
Yeah.
that's a one-time investment, man. You can't
Yeah, that
say
is.
that for, I don't know, 100
It's-
hours of gameplay or however long you
Yes.
want to play that character.
I think
this 250.
I
gold
don't
is
think we're looking at
investment.
gold though, guys. I think they're looking at like skill investment.
Well, that's a different argument in its own right. The more gold you spend, the better you should play. Or mages, they have a one-time investment. They get their super god books, and they're just OP for the end of time. As a mounted combat, and I've said this argument a fucking million times, and everybody just calls me a fucking idiot. I have to spend way more than any other fucking class just to properly gear out my MC. Lances take 1600 primary metal material if you want to make a like a steel lance. 1600 material. Horse armor, if you want like a steel guard for horse armor, that's another 1600 primary metal material. Then you look at your armor, which will be all metal, best in slot. You're looking at another 1500 plus in metal. Then you look at maybe a secondary weapon. That's another, I don't know if you're doing steel, silk for weight and attack speed. That's another 800 primary metal. Then you look at potions. Am I going to be using potions? 121 potions. They're going to be fucking expensive as shit. Then you look at the horse itself. 125 min-maxed horse. That's also going to be as expensive as shit. I'm basically spending half a stack of gold to properly gear up my mount of combat, just to go out in the wilderness and hit somebody for fucking 15 and get dismounted and killed easily as fuck by dismount weapons, a foot archer, an EQ mage. There are plenty of fucking mechanics in place to dismount an MC. And there's only going to be more. Spear stance, dual strike, triple strike, they're all coming. EQ dismounts, that's coming very soon. I'm pretty sure next patch we're going to get EQ dismounts. So it exists. It's out there. You can defeat the MC. It's not a god class. The investment versus reward for MC right now, it's dog shit.
Yeah, when I get into PvP, I'm not afraid of MCs at all, really. Like, they're not like a huge threat for anything that I play. I think MAs are extremely strong, and honestly, I think fat mages have like a really bad rep, and as someone who plays fat mage quite a bit, if I ever see an MA in the wild and there's no guards nearby, I'm fucked. Like,
Just run.
yeah,
I mean,
like, no, you can't just run.
You can't
You're
fight
dead.
back.
Like, you're
It's-
dead.
yeah,
It's
you're
the
still
nature of
dead,
mounted. Whenever
but-
you get low, you just fuck off and heal your mount. I mean, it's not like it's gonna die that instantly as you portray, Magnus. You can always the possibility to disengage very quickly is just so powerful that you have to very carefully balance it. And if you give it everything, high mobility, high damage, all the survivability, then everybody's going to play mounted, and that's not really
Well,
fun. in
c-
my
And
well,
that's
real
mounted
quick.
online.
Real quick, can you agree, Crackqueen, that MC is in a bad state as far as damage is concerned, though?
Yeah, it does
Okay.
do little damage, absolutely.
It
I
doesn't
don't
need to be
disagree on
doing
that.
hundreds, but I
No.
think where it is currently, it is bad. I
Yeah,
don't know if
It needs
anyone
to do
disagrees
more
with me over
damage,
here.
but you have to have the proper counter plays in place before you crank up that damage and make it unfun to play.
It should be at
You
least
mean-
up to par with spears the way they are right now, though.
Yeah.
If we're
I
talking
mean,
about lances.
especially lances are shit, but
And there's also the thing to be said, like you can't really use a lance on foot.
yeah,
So
I
that
think
melee
that's,
weapon, like investment in primary points, that's only for your mount.
Well,
Like,
Lance
so
should
it
have
should
a
be up to
momentum.
par.
Lance should have a momentum multiplier, like if you're going 2 speed, 3 speed, or 4 speed.
Well, that's the skill mounted charge, and currently it's not functioning. If I'm using a spear and I'm second speeding and I hit a guy, I'm going to hit for maybe like 5 more damage if I fourth speed. Mounted charge, it's shitty. It doesn't really function. Damage bonus isn't getting properly calculated into mounted damage. Mounted in general is just in a very shit spot right now.
Well, I think personally, from what I'm getting from this topic, is like there's two things that really need to be looked at when it comes to lances and or spears with mounted combat. It's one, the damage needs to be increased for lances to either equal and or do more damage than spears because it is completely designed around being a mounted weapon. And then two, I don't know exactly how the stam drain works on lances or something, but if it's twice the length of a spear, obviously it's going to cost you more energy and stamina to hold this. So maybe they need to rework how the couching system works and or this how much stamina drain is on the lance, and this would go into increasing the damage because it would require more skill, more better timing to couch your lance if it's costing you more stamina, or if there's you can only couch it for X amount of seconds or whatever it is. I think that would increase the skill usage of it, but it should definitely be doing more damage than it currently is.
It should be a very, very small window to hit with the lance. Like, you can't just, couch a lance and hold it for fucking 10 seconds.
Agreed.
Very small window.
You're holding it like a freaking flagpole, Like, shit's
It would
heavy.
be very
It's
long.
not a
It would be
fucking
weighing
spear
you
with
down.
a wood,
Yeah.
If you remove couching except for lances, that might be actually a way to make them more viable if they also adjust the damage.
And now, where are we at with the? I don't know if we actually brought this up in this podcast, but what about chip damage for mounted combat? What do you guys think? How much should we chipping damage be for like hitting someone on foot, etc.?
I don't know how much it should be, but because whenever I run up to somebody and I MC them and they block it just easy, you turn around, they block it again. Maybe they should be able to do that with if I'm using a spear or something like that. But if you're using a lance, you should get some kind of chip or knockback damage for that person if they're blocking a lance.
Well,
'Cause
we
it's
haven't.
a solid.
Go.
It's like a solid object, and I'm coming at you at speed. So you can hit underneath and deflect it, but at the same time, like if you're just gonna deflect every single hit, if it's a lance, like I don't know.
Well, what's going to happen is you block every fucking hit, and the mounted will just go away, come back, go away, come back, and you perfectly parry everything, but yet you die. That's not, what I would call the balanced.
But why do you die?
Well, because you're getting the chip damage.
Well,
If you're getting chipped through your parry, all the MC has to do is just come in, chip you, go away. Come in, chip you, go away. And
well,
there's
it should
literally
be like
nothing
a
to do.
small chip damage, right? And then it should also cost durability on your weapon. But at the same time, like if you're out there, if it's just you and the MC, and you're taking chip damage and your weapon's taking durability, you as a foot fighter should be trying to move away from this MC. You shouldn't just stand there and die.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to just stand there, but I mean that doesn't change the thing that you will still die if you're in a shit spot. I mean,
think
if
there was
there's no counterplay to that, then it's just not a good mechanic. I'm sorry.
I mean, there is counterplay to that. Bring a dismount weapon with you.
Well, if there's a lance, you're not gonna hit anything with a short fucking hammer because the lance has the range.
The lance will hit first.
Well, maybe if they make lances for a very small degree, like a straight-on pass, and you have
Right.
the opportunity to try to trade that hit for a dismount, I think that's entirely that was you had to roll those dice in MO1. And, I reference MO1 a lot because Starbald has this insane habit of making MO2 exactly like shit was in MO1, so I can only imagine this is the route that they're going to go with these sort of mechanics. But if I'm coming at a fist fighter, who I know has triple strike, I have to get within his hit range in order to do damage as an MC. And I'm rolling the dice. Is he going to hit me with triple strike and fucking dismount me and then brain me on the ground in 2 hits and I'm just dead? Or am I going to be able to dodge it, hit him first, and get out of the way in time? There was that mechanical outplay. Same thing if I saw a big-ass axe on the battlefield. I either had to catch that guy in the back. I'm not going to take that guy straight on because I know he's going to hit my horse right in the head, dismount me, and I'm going to get fucking shit on. Same thing with spear stance. Even though it didn't function, You know, it was cumbersome, it was janky, it was a dice roll, but even then, still, if I saw somebody using spear stance, I'm not going to come straight on at that fucking dude because I know it's going to hit my horse and dismount me. Same thing with dual strike. If I see a guy with a fucking wooden stick in one hand and a dagger in the other, I can rationalize he probably has dual strike and he's going to hit my horse for fucking 200 damage and dismount me. I probably shouldn't attack that guy straight on. Additionally, you're fighting out in the flats, you're perfect parrying, I'm doing 0 chip damage, getting 0 knockdowns on you, and you go and stand up on top of a rock that I don't have access to. Congratulations, you have just defeated the mounted combat. Additionally, bring a fucking naked mage with you, dude. All he's got to do is cast one spell and you fuck the MC up.
Yeah.
So you bring more people. That's the way to dismount it.
I mean, I gave you 4 other ways to dismount before I even mentioned bringing one person.
Just
4
don't
other
travel
ways to
alone.
defeat fucking don't be out in the flats in the middle of fucking nowhere, MC territory as a lonesome foot fighter. Maybe be smarter than that. Maybe choose your path of travel through the woods or on a ridge or something like that. I don't know.
I mean,
what's-
I do agree with that though. You know, like if you're traveling across the flats, it's basically a shortcut from one point to another. Like you're making that decision. Should I take the faster route and risk it on an MC, or should I take the tree line and just take more time?
But what's the problem making it skill balanced even in that scenario? What's the big issue with making the game skill based as opposed to fucking rock paper scissors? I mean, I don't get it. Where's the fun in playing rock paper scissors every time you encounter somebody?
I mean, just in MO1, you know, I encountered foot fighters out on the flats, 1v1 foot fighter. They came prepared, they brought a dismount weapon, and I've lost those fights. I've lost them. You know, they played smart. There is a degree of skill knowing your environment. Coming prepared out in the wilderness. If you're a foot fighter, you use axes or some shit, bring a fucking axe designed to dismount a horse. Hit the horse one time you've dismounted the dude. If you don't kill him, at least you scared him off. I don't know. It just seems like you shouldn't make a class dog shit because you find it too difficult or you don't understand the mechanics in place for you to be able to defeat that class. I mean, let's talk about the MA then. MA is the fucking god class of the game. MA can do anything it fucking wants right now. It's fucking uncontested. Fat Mage, which does unblockable 80 damage with flame strikes, NMA deletes it. NMA can shoot you as you're climbing up a hill. NMA can just stay out of your fucking hit range as an MC and ping your horse down until it's dead. Why are we not looking at the MA? Why are we just shitting on the fucking MC class, which is already dog shit, performs like shit, does no fucking damage, can be perfect parry regardless of velocity or weapon being used? I don't get chip damage. I hit you for 0, 0, 0, 0, and then you go wherever the fuck you need to go, and I can't access you anymore. You're free. You've escaped.
We
What's the fun
absolutely
for me as
agree
an
on
MC?
MA and MM. That I absolutely agree on those two. Like
Yeah,
they
that-
need to be definitely reworked. Absolutely.
And I think we've said that the MA doesn't have like bow sway or something, correct, on the mount.
Not
compared
on
to
the mount,
foot?
no.
Is that, have they ever addressed that?
It
or
should
started
have it. You should have. It shouldn't be like a bow sway per se, but you should get some kind of effect from riding the horse.
It should definitely have a bow sway. I mean,
Yeah,
shooting
it
it on
shouldn't
the
be
ground
flat.
with flat-footed
No,
versus
not like
riding
I'm not
a
talking
horse.
like this. Like I'm talking like maybe your sway should be like this instead of like this. Okay. It shouldn't be the same sway as if you're standing on foot.
It
You
should
should
be
have
worse,
a different
in my
sway.
opinion.
Yeah, technically yes, but then if you have a skill that I don't know, they have skill point for aiming technique as well. Like you should have to push points there to reduce that sway on a horse or something. But point is, riding a horse, you shouldn't just fucking be on point every time. There has to be some kind of sway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mounted mages, they need 100 primary points just to be able to cast on a horse. I mean, obviously it'll take a lot to be able to retain a spell on a horse going however fast you're going. It should be a 100 primary point investment to be able to do that. MA, I have no fucking idea. I have no idea how you would balance that. Give them another 100 primaries that they would have to invest in. They already have mounted archery. It's already a very heavily, invested primary point class. And then you start taking all the secondaries that they offer for bow use specifically. So I don't know how you would balance MA. MAs are fucking terrorists right now.
It takes a lot of points to build an MA. But thinking back on it, like I don't think any class actually has sway on a horse. Like I don't think mages have any type of sway. I don't think MC has sway. Like nothing
Mages-
has sway on a horse.
I'm gonna tell you
I think
right now, if you
mages
add
have
sway
the
to
worst. In the mounted. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
mages, you do not add a sway to mages. It's already hard. You can't turn while casting. It takes 6-7 seconds to get a flame strike. Like, if I'm if I'm fighting an MA as a mage, I lose. I can't heal myself. I can't cast an offensive spell. I have to out stamina them, hopefully, or run into my
Yeah,
group
MAs
to get peels. Like, I lose. I can't
They-
cast on myself because it's
position
just free
behind you.
damage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dumb. You're essentially a handicap on a horse as a mage. Yeah, you do damage. That's only if you have like they said, like a bunch of people in front of you. You have time to walk in a straight line, charge your spell for like 5 to 7 seconds when you're on this projected path that's like telegraphed. Hey, shoot me here or dismount me here. You know, and then you turn around and then you have to hit your spell and then go right back into that. And if God forbid, someone needs a heal, you know, you're not doing any damage while you're doing that.
I mean, I know it's a player using like their hands and stuff, but still, you're moving on the horse. You're not like just gliding, right? Like the horse is causing some kind of movement there.
Yes,
That's all
all
I'm
the
getting
MA
at.
has to do is position behind you because you can't cast a spell behind you, you know. So he's in a position behind you while you're casting. You're going to be looking back at him while he's doing damage. And don't forget, there's a 60% chance interrupt while the MA is hitting you. So between that 5 seconds, he has plenty of time to hit you.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
you
I'm not
can
talking about MA versus mage. I mean, mages should wear a big fat shield on their back when on horseback anyway.
And if it hits you for 0 damage, you still have a 60% chance to interrupt
Yeah.
that spell.
I would say that anyone, if you guys have any concerns with like a fat mage, you should try and play a fat mage and fight a guy who's decent at the game, who has a bow and he has a rock or a tree nearby. You're probably not going to be able to kill him because it takes so long to get off any cast. He can ping down your horse. You're going to have to leave 10 times to go heal your horse. He heals the full. It's just constant resets on both parties, honestly. Like
Even on
it's
a
not-
foot fighter, if you're casting in a straight line, running away from him, he just has to run the other way and start going to water, a rock, a forest, anything while you're going in the straight line just to try this cast you started when you started. Like if you like lined up and positioned properly to go towards them, and if you go too close to them, they'll just hit you and dismount you for 100+ damage. 'cause
I
you're in
think
light armor.
fat mages will be insanely OP when we have necromancy and we have death hands. I think it'll be god tier at that point, but currently I don't think fat mage is OP. Personally, playing it, I've played it enough to know that it's not OP. It's good in certain circumstances, but it's not OP in my opinion. But once we have death hands and we can turn while casting and just fuck you up for 90 damage or whatever death hands hits for, it's going to be something to look at for sure.
Yeah, and don't forget corrupts, because you corrupt a fat mage and he's useless for 10 seconds.
Well, you can purify on
Almost
him out,
free.
but it's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Well, I mean, fat mages, like I'm gonna say they're pretty fucking OP, honestly. I mean, they lose to the MA, they don't lose to anything else. MC, fat mage can fucking run circles around an MC and blow him up. I dual tumor all the time, fucking badass fat mage, and I don't win those fights. A foot fighter like Aldwin here, out in the wilderness, and you're a fat mage, you don't even have to get in hit range for him to dismount you. You can just fucking whatever spells you want to throw at him and ping him down. How do I know this? Because we just did it yesterday to fucking Evelyn and Team Rocket out in Bach T. I couldn't hit him as an MC because MC's cumbersome and fucking slow. I just sat there and watched Tumor use Flame Strike, T-Lash. She was dead. You know, nothing she could fucking do about it. So, I mean,
agree. Mountain
there's a
mage,
certain degree
yeah.
of
Well,
very,
Evelyn,
very strong gameplay as a fat
Evelyn
mage.
did not play that very well. I watched the stream. She was running around. She didn't even have her weapon out. She could have just been poking him, interrupting his cast if she wanted to. Like, there's other stuff she could have been doing in that circumstance. She was mostly running around trying to dodge your MC, which then you brought in the mage spells.
Yeah.
But again, like this, like if you're fighting Tumor, I know you're a straight up MC build, but there are builds that play MC that have magic. If you're fighting Tumor, all you would have to do to win is put away your weapon, get a corrupt on him, and then go back to killing him, and then rinse and repeat. Like he wouldn't be able to get off any spells unless he outstams you or something. Or if he needs to go cast a flame strike and run this same direction for 6 seconds, you turn around, you pull out your healing for a little bit and just heal your horse or whatever. You know, like there are ways to win against Fat Mage. It makes it much simpler. If you're a straight up MC, you have no healing.
There's a different. No, we actually already talked about that. Never mind.
Yeah, and it's going to be even scarier when MC actually gets their bread like horse specifically for mounted combat, it's not going to be just 2 bursts. Right now, the horses are dog shit, like you said. It's 2 charges and that's all you got, maybe. Once you get better mounts, you should be able to, and you get your damage back, of course, you should be able to 2-shot his horse and then GG.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to gauge right now. The class isn't finished. We don't have everything. It's fucked up. God knows what they'll do with it. We still don't even have veterinary skill. But it needs to be looked at. It's not sick. MA needs to be looked at. It's too OP. Fat Mage, it's very fucking OP. We haven't even reached the level that Fat Mages existed in Mortal Online 1, which was literally the god class. You know, you EQ, Suicide EQ dismount somebody. He's on the ground. You're in fucking, oh, I don't know, Lictor armor, so you stand up instantly. He's in heavy armor, as he should be. Takes him fucking 4 seconds to get up off the ground. In that time, you've death-handed him twice. You've thrown a corrupt on him so he can't heal. He mounts up, tries to use his 121 HP potion. It doesn't work. And you fucking mental projectile him like a fucking sniper rifle while he rides away. And you've just killed him. And it was... Literally, the strat was, send a fucking guy in there to bait the EQ. He might die, sure. But at least you might kill that fucking Fat Mage. That was the strat in MO1. That's how you fought against it. It was ridiculous.
You're just trading one for another.
Well, as far as I heard, you just mentioned 3 different magic schools to kill that one MC. So that's 300 primaries right there.
I mean, what else is he going to do? A wheelchair Fat Mage. He's not taking endurance. He's not taking offensive or aggressive stance. He's not taking armor training. He wears the minimum weight armor in the game, which was super fucking strong, which was Lictor armor. You know, we don't have that yet, but it's coming, and I guarantee you fucking mages are going to be using that shit. Weighed 6 fucking pounds, 6 kilograms, whatever the fuck. And it had the sliders of steel. You know, it had low durability, but who cares? You just go farm fucking Lictors for an hour, and congratulations, you have 8 sets worth of armor.
So, with the dismount mechanic and knockdown or whatever you're talking about from MO1, the get up time was based off of armor weight, is what you're saying?
Yeah, based off armor weight.
Okay.
And we don't even have player knockdowns yet. You had guys in MO1 that would be out there on fucking, they were called combat Mulvas, big slow Mulvas, but what they would do is they would charge foot fighters, and they would try to knock them on the ground. Same thing, depending on how heavy their armor was, depended on how quickly they would get up off the ground. That's a mechanic we don't even have yet. Foot fighters just counter MC, you know, right now, just the way it stands. If a foot fighter is good as an MC, I can't fucking kill him. He knows which way to block. I'm not going to do any damage to him. I can't knock him down with a horse charge. He can, you know, go wherever he's trying to go. And I only say that because it's been fucking happening since MC's been available in Mortal Online fucking, 2. In a straight up 1v1 against a foot fighter, I'm just going to hit him for 0. I'm going to hit him for 0. I'm going to hit him for 0. He's going to get brave and try to trade, make my horse half HP, and then I'm going to have to fuck off and try to find some way to heal my horse. I'm going to have to sit there for 5 minutes and feed it 2 wolf brush at a time so it can heal because I can't bandage my horse yet, or I have to go find a fucking mage to heal it up. Either way, that foot fighter won that engagement.
Yeah.
And that's out in the flats. That's out in the wilderness where I'm supposed to dominate as a mounted combat. One of the few playstyle or areas that allow my playstyle to be effective. I saw somebody in the chat say, MO2 map's 90% flat. It's fucking not 90% flat, dude. There's so much shit all over the place. There's forests all over the place. There's mountains all over the place. There's water everywhere, dude. If you want to be a foot survivalist, take fucking swimming. Swimming, it's a great skill. Just jump in the fucking water. Congrats. You've escaped. You've won.
And while we're on the subject, how do you feel about the map balance? Do you think they did a good job of giving like enough open space versus enough forest versus hills, etc.?
I mean, it's heavy. It's congested. There's very few. I don't even think I've seen like one flat open field that didn't have hills and rocks and choke points all over the place. There's fucking, I call them minefields. They're just these fields of tiny little rocks that make my horse stop constantly. It doesn't matter how fast I'm going. I just stop
thinking
in
about
place.
that, the freaking horses shouldn't get stuck on these tiny, like, I don't know, half a foot stumps or these tiny rocks on the ground. I think it's just like a problem with the object collision,
You know who also has this opinion, guys? Schmerich. He said it last night in Mortal Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, I rescind everything I just said.
I was gonna say that doesn't.
He
make
literally
me
just said
fresh.
that. He was talking about last night in Mortal Discord. He's like, God, Starvolt, why does everything have fucking collision?
I mean, the thing about it is, like, my sister rode equestrian, and I've done some horse riding as well, like on her horses. So like a horse is going to evade some of this stuff. It's not just going to stop at a freaking tiny stump, right? It's going to go around the stump, or it's going to jump over the rocks. So like a great example was like, I don't do equestrian at all. I jumped on the horse and I'm riding around the yard. They had a downed tree in the backyard, and I was trying to turn the horse, but the motherfucker jumped over the tree and scared the shit out of me. That's the thing. Like, a horse is not just going to stop at an object like that. Like, it's going to figure out a way to go unless it's like a detrimental object, you know?
See, I'm not even complaining about the collision, right? Foot fighters are gonna fucking piss and shit themselves about balance until the end of time in Mortal Online 2. They have this mindset that you can only play foot. If you don't play foot, you're shit at the game, right? And I'm not even complaining about it. If my horse hits a rock and stops, so be it, dude. You can have that. I'm not. I don't even give a fuck. But whenever they come to the table and say that, oh, mounteds can go anywhere, mounteds can do anything, they fucking can't, dude. That shouldn't even be a point in your argument. There's so many outplay potential fucking situations you could find yourself in just using the terrain. Stand on the other side of a log. That mounted's gonna have to go around that fucking log. Dance around a tree, climb a fucking hill, get in some fucking rocks. It's literally all over the place. I haven't seen like a single render range distance that doesn't include some sort of way that a foot fighter can fucking escape from you. They're all over. They exist.
If you don't want to see
Yeah,
a
even-
MC, just go live in the colored forest.
True. Even out in Sausage Lake, where it's supposed to be flat, they do a good job about putting little rocks out there and stuff like that for cover and stuff like that.
I don't know what game you guys playing, but I see a lot of open space. I don't know.
No, there is a lot of open space.
There's a lot of
There's
open.
tons. Like the whole
yeah.
center of the map is open.
Yeah, I
space.
know. I mean, I don't see the problem where you're getting stuck all the time. Honestly.
No, but like okay, so like if you're traversing, I don't know, through some woods or through the colored forest, like it's clearly you can see that your horse can go through there, but your horse will get stuck, right? Like that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
People are in chat are, well, I think it might just be one guy. We're talking about MO1 stuff because the game is literally pulling all of its data and its skills from MO1. So that's why we keep referencing MO1 and skills that haven't been introduced yet, because they're literally just copy and paste it for the most part, just slight tweaks here and there when it comes from the stuff from MO1. So that's why we keep referencing it, because these are skills that are coming to the game, like EQ dismount, all the knockdown stuff. So that's why we keep referencing. We kind of have to. We can't just ignore it. Like the skills are already in the game. They're just not activated yet. You know what I mean? Like Beast Mastery for Tamers. Like, we're getting all the special attacks from pets, but, we don't have that skill implemented yet where it's going to cost an extra primary. Stuff like that. So we kind of have to mention it. We can't just ignore it.
Find me one skill that's in MO2 that was in MO1 that doesn't function the exact same way. Just one skill.
Can we please switch also over to pets?
Yeah.
I
shit.
feel for mounteds we kind of reach a
Oh,
point where
shit.
we don't have much more. We keep repeating the same thing. So yeah, let's talk pets, I guess.
All right, lead us in there. Let's go. Dive deep.
Start it off, Alduin. Start it off.
Dive.
So according to Henrik's last stream, we know there's coming this the Beast Mastery, which enables the special attacks and some other skill. I don't recall the exact name, which increases the reach
Beast
of
influence.
you being able. Yeah. So you could, with a very high skill, your beast will attack further, etc. And the current problem that I see is that pets simply outrun everybody on foot, be it mage, be it whatever. They don't have an actual stamina bar. They require very little micromanagement. It's basically one button. And when pet attacks come, I don't know how they will work, but I imagine it will be just a couple buttons and the pet will do it, right? So yeah, I'm trying to figure out how you would balance something like that constantly outruns you, deals massive amount of damage, that for the good pets at least you can't even parry them, and that kind of sucks, to be honest.
I think that
that's
should
not true.
pets
Crackling.
and shit.
Everything right now you can parry for 0 damage as a foot fighter.
No,
Up to the white.
white bears you can't parry for 0 damage.
I
The
parried
black
white
bear
for
is
0
left
damage
attack.
today.
Not the wait. Sorry, say again.
I parried the white bear for 0 damage today as a mage.
Was
No
it
blocking.
one type of attack or all the types of attack?
I pretty much hit everything. Center block, right and left.
Center block, even the black bear hit is unparryable. How can a white bear be unparryable?
You should test it, I think, because we have a ton of white bears, and I was training one of my foot fighters to how to like pretty much perfect parry a white bear.
I mean, that's legit not how it should work, because Henrik always mentioned that there will be parry attacks that are unblockable.
I have no blocking and I can parry it for 0.
I mean,
essentially,
I'm telling you,
I've
that's
already
not how
reported
it
it.
should be then. I am definitely not. The black bear middle attack, even if you parry it, you get hit through the block for the same damage. And the black bear, his left swing, it hits you slightly before the paw is actually lifted, so there's also some animations that aren't really, really well done yet. So pets need a rework, in my opinion.
Well, I'm sure they'll get the rework when the new like taming one comes in, taming and dominate.
So
There's a pretty easy counter to pets, and that's just kill the fucking tamer.
Kill
kill the
the
dominator.
tamer, yeah.
That was always the
Right.
strat in ML1. Hey, if you saw a fucking Dominator, a Necromancer, anything, Tamer out there using pets, you would just focus them down. It's primarily a mounted's job to focus down a pet as well. Once you kill the Tamer, the thing's loose. It can even attack its own fucking,
Yeah.
allies. And then you just focus it down.
Yeah, no, I think pets should, with them regarding to them just sitting back pressing buttons, I think the button pressing should cost more loyalty, and after a certain number, like you have to do something to get that pet's loyalty back up. Like you shouldn't just be able to have continuous button pressing. There needs to be something there.
Yeah, I could see that. I've just
There
never
could
really
also be
viewed.
stamina on pets, so you'd have to manage it.
Yeah.
You know, every hit could take a certain amount of stamina, and especially when you get to the special attacks, if you want to use a special attack on a white bear, it's to use up like half of its fucking stamina. And constantly sending it in to attack someone and then bringing it back, sending it in, bringing it back, kiting it over and over
Yeah.
should make it, stam out. Just the same way like you'd stam out your horse and you'd stam out your player, and you're in trouble.
That's
Yeah.
a great idea, Donsky.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem I have with this conversation. One of my mages, we were talking last night. He said that mage or tamer, right? If you go up against a foot fighter, there's literally any foot fighter that can hold his own. There is no way you can win that fight. You cannot 1v1 or face that person, or 1vx, whatever, and expect to win that fight. If you add a pet into the scenario, then it's now flipped, where the foot fighter, yes, he could win, but for most foot fighters, they will not win. So I think it is balanced when in both scenarios. Mage could never beat a foot fighter 1v1. You add a pet because they have made the class so pet dependent, whether it's necromancy or whatever it is. You can't. The class is made specifically for a little companion. You can't fight 1v1 without it. And if you do have it, yes, you can do better. I think people would not use that crutch if the class itself was structured a little differently to where it could take that 1v1 fight or just hold its own against one person.
You haven't even seen the worst of fucking Dominators and Tamers yet.
Yeah.
Worst
till
you've seen
everybody's
right
running
now
around
is a
with
white bear.
trolls.
Wait until you see a fucking, Kernus or a Minotaur or a fucking, what are those rock golems called? I can't remember what the name for
Kamuru?
a rock golem. Yeah, Kamuru. Wait until you see one of those motherfuckers. It's going to be
Yeah.
knocking you off of mountains, dude.
I think it all comes back to, and that's one of things that I do as well is attack the frickin' tamer and let the bear or whatever it is go loose.
I mean, that's a strat. Even in MO2 right now, if you see a guy with a white bear, focus down that dude. He loses control of his white bear, then you focus down the fucking bear at your convenience. Even if they are using bears to dive, which you shouldn't be doing. Any competent foot group can say, hey, focus this white bear real quick. We've done it 100 times.
Yep.
People using bears against us. They're not fucking invincible. You have one guy parry up, everybody else doing the fucking damage on the bear. It dies within fucking, 5-10 seconds.
yeah, I think
Yeah, we've
bears
done that
are-
and had people run.
Yeah, bears are probably the most dangerous on a push rather than just like to force a push. Like the group already has to be in retreat, and at that point it becomes really overpowered because it's just adding like another body to the fight, and it's just one button. You just leave it on that person or whatever.
Well, we use them for backline defense. We don't even use them to push. If somebody's diving our backline trying to grip our mages, then sure, we'll sick fucking 2 white bears on them, see how they do. It gets
that's a
the
good
fucking
strat.
aggro off our mages.
It's
It
a good
takes,
strat.
heavy foot fighters away from having to sit in the back and just wait for a diver, and now they can be up at the front doing fucking damage. And if our mages get dove on, they have their pets to take care of it. It's just ways to play the game to counter, whatever you see in front of you. You should have
And
a plan for everything.
Then I think like with the new changes that are gonna be coming out, like your mages aren't gonna be able to run full taming. Like I believe taming's gonna have to be its own class as well.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
not necessarily, but yeah, it'll
It's
be
gonna be
harder.
for the breeders, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
I think domination, like Weakness said, will probably take over that.
Well, right now the bottleneck is the tamers. If they want to play, mounted with a pet, they need a shit ton of primary points. Eventually, Starbolt's going to make it to where these motherfuckers can just ride their pets, so they
Yeah.
don't need that bottleneck anymore. You might see somebody with 2 fucking 125 white bears rolling up, out and
No,
about.
125 white
No,
bear is
you don't have the
100 pet
points for that.
cost by itself,
Yeah.
so literally impossible.
Well, they might have one and then dominate another.
No, because domination takes from the
No, they
same pet
used-
points.
Yeah,
Oh, it
domination. I
does?
don't think
Okay.
you can even stable that pet. Dominated pets. I don't think can even be stabled. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah, I
do
hope
too much
not.
of that shit.
So you just dominate it for while you're online, or you log out with it, or how does that work?
I think you log out with it. Whenever you log out, it logs out. But again, I can't remember. I never really fucked with them. I never really viewed them as a threat. I never really viewed them as like a game-changing mechanic. They were always just, if anything, a very slight inconvenience if you brought the right group composition.
So
what's-
if you kill the person that has it dominated, does it turn on everybody?
I mean, it's a dice roll. It could attack whoever the fuck it wanted in MO1. There was no way for it to be controlled anymore. I know whenever we brought any sort of dominator or tamer or fucking necromancer that let loose a pet and they died, the strategy then was always kill their fucking pet. You weren't waiting for that thing to, turn on your group. You weren't waiting for their greater fucking Kernus to EQ slam your backline because your tamer died. So,
Wasn't
don't
there also flying pets in MO1 that you at one point could actually use?
The bats, you mean?
Yeah.
flying, in a very loose term, you just had to look up to hit it. And they were always very weak, the bats. I think one of the more AIDSy ones was there was a pet you could dominate that spawned them. That might have been a demon thing. I can't really remember right now. It's been a long time. But you didn't see that used enough for it to be a really big issue.
I think the Spider Queen spawned spiderlings, correct? If I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing with the domination pets is it's going to be a long time before you see any of that stuff with the zoology to get it and it being a guild effort. And most of the time, the guild makes the call to get the mats or whatever reward there is for killing it, rather than saying, "Hey, Dom Mage, come dominate this. It's a mercy," kind of thing.
Well, I mean, pet capturing, I think, should be a thing, for sure.
Pokeballs?
I want to be able to kill a fucking MC and
Pokeballs.
then take his horse. Retame his horse or some shit. It shouldn't have to be. I
GTA
shouldn't have to
Online.
sit there and wait for him to lose fucking loyalty and go gray and then start attacking everybody to tame him. I don't know. Maybe you could like throw a fucking rope around it and drag it back or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking horse, bro. You kill the guy that owns the horse, and then you just take it, right? Like it
You'd
should
really-
turn
yeah,
gray.
That would definitely give Team Rocket its theme back in game. Stealing Pokemon.
I'm not saying like they did it in Darkfall on Holy Wars, which was the dumbest shit ever, dude. If you dismounted a horse, somebody could mount it up instantly and fucking ride off with it. That shit was cancerous.
That's how it. I mean, I don't know. If you kill the
that'd
owner,
be-
that's how it should be. But if the owner's still alive, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Have you ever seen like a police dog protect one of the cops? Like if you hurt a cop by any chance, I'm sorry, you're not taking.
Yeah,
that
but that's a
home.
dog. That's not a
you know?
horse. Like it's like okay, so if I kill the guy and he owns the wolf, like I'm not gonna take the wolf directly. Like the wolf's probably gonna bite me because it's so used to its owner. So I'm probably gonna have to kill the wolf. But like if it's a horse, it should be a different scenario. Like that's just a transportation, right? Like it's gonna go with whoever mounts it.
Well, yeah, like attack pets, like guard pets, like a dog. I guess they would all be attack things that should have some kind of loyalty to the tamer. Otherwise, it'll just be, it's Mortal GTA Online or Pet Stealing Online, Team Rocket Online.
I mean, yeah, I know we're basically in like a Viking kind of medieval like time frame, right? And it's fantasy, but at the same time, like a lot of these mechanics that you see in real world should have some kind of real world feel to it.
Well, I mean,
even
you
in the
start
fantasy
saying-
world, like
Start saying realism, people are gonna lose their fucking minds.
Yeah, I think we should keep the realism to kind of like maybe like Lord of the Rings. Like if that troll broke from its chains, usually half the time the troll still keeps attacking like the battlefield, per se.
No,
But
it should
I really
attack
think
everybody
it's-
on the battlefield, not just who chained it. You know?
I mean, dominating versus taming, mechanically, it's very different. You're
Yeah.
enslaving essentially the mind of a creature for your own benefit.
Right.
There's no way you should
Right.
be able to redominate a creature like that. They're extremely powerful. They were way powerful than anything a tamer could ever bring to the table.
Yeah, the
Tamers, on the
Dominator
other
has
hand,
mind control over that. So if you kill the Dominator,
Yeah, that thing should be wild as fuck, and
Should be
they
fun, yeah.
were, and you had to fucking kill them even if they were on your own team.
or Mercy it and dominate it again.
Maybe.
But
I
at that
feel
point,
like,
it's fighting the whole battlefield, right? So
I feel like a lot of people are dissatisfied with the OP tamer currently. Like, I think there needs to be some more things, touched on for tamers right now.
Well, I think the only thing
No,
people
that's-
really complain about is white bears, but Hendrix already addressed that they're gonna have like a new system for taming it. I think he talked about on his stream that. I think he's going in the right direction. Instead of like having like a 12-hour, 24-hour respawn timer, they're gonna have it where there's gonna spawn the mama bear and the cub, and the mama bear is completely untamable, and you'll have to kill the mom to get the cub, and this will allow people like a much wider audience to experience having a white bear and it being a cool thing that you got to tame, rather than sitting on this spawn for 9 hours just to get killed by some guy who walks up or whatever. And then you'll have to level the pet, and that takes more primaries if you want to do that faster, and AFK in town or whatever. I think that's a better approach than just making it like a 12,
I mean,
24-hour
well, I
respawn.
think that's really cool, but the big problem we're having right now is the ease of access to these white bears, right? So like, the white bear should be harder to kill. Like, so if I'm going up there as an MA, I can go up there with a quiver full of arrows of 25, and I could probably mercy the white bear with 20 arrows. But people are pulling it to a rock and cheesing it, and so and people teach other people how to cheese it. So now everybody on the server has these white bears. Like, it
Yeah.
should be a
The
lot
rocks
harder
one,
to
they-
obtain this bear, but
They-
I don't
they
think you
fixed the
should nerf it.
geology. They fixed
Yeah,
the
but it's
geology
still
for
going
this
though.
time.
It's still
yeah,
going.
but there's I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but there's always going to be some way to cheese it. Like, you're never going to get 100% non-cheesing mechanics. Like, they'll drag it somewhere, they'll have it aggro to someone else. Like, there's always going to be a way, unfortunately. I do agree with you, it is easy, but I don't know how they would fix it.
It should
As
be
long as
harder
there's
to
a leash
obtain.
point on mobs, there will always be cheesing.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, I
every
mean,
mob.
and that's understandable. Like, we know that's gonna happen, but like, they should, I don't know, keep people from getting to that rock that's gonna cheese it, or what I'm saying, like, just
Yeah, it's
every,
you
but they're
can't
fucking
really-
everywhere, bro. They shouldn't be everywhere like that. Like, a white bear is powerful, and so it should be really hard to obtain it.
The problem now is whenever you tame a white bear, it's always like 100 plus. So I think if they go the cub route and you have to sit in town for like literally 5 to 6 hours leveling this thing, you're not going to see them on the battlefield as much as you are now. And it will still allow people to access this content of like, the PvEers and the role players and whoever tamers. They'll still be able to tame a white bear. But if they wanted to get combat ready, because it's not combat ready at level 40. It's a white bear, but it's not combat. It's going to have like 400 health. Like, it's going to die, really easy if you send it into a group. So I think that will fix and help with the problem that we currently have. Whenever you tame a white bear now, it's always 100 plus. You can tame 125 white bears by chance, and it's just like GG. You don't have to do anything else. Took 5 minutes.
Another thing that no one's brought up yet. This week, Lyrics made 2 videos where he 1v1'd a white bear. Brain dead. Didn't try to parry it at all. He knows he can't parry it. And before his health bar was like depleted with his clades, of course, he popped the white bear down.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
didn't he have a mage healing him?
No, but
Yeah.
he
No?
didn't get
Those solo
corrupted. There was literally a mage next to him with the white bear who did not corrupt him. So anybody who has a corrupt and the fucking white bear should not lose to that.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
completely
you can't
understand
say
that,
it's-
but the
you
thing
can't
is,
either-
baseline is that it is possible with just one person. You add an extra person in, and it's almost a non-issue.
Yeah, but that relies on the fact that whoever had the bear is brain dead and doesn't fucking corrupt you. So
Okay, if
that's
he
not an
corrupts you,
argument.
you can still
Well,
parry from 0 damage.
I don't think it's fair to call them brain dead because a lot of people aren't. I think
I'm not saying he was
aren't
brain dead.
aware
I
of the
think he
life steal
showed-
from a Thursar is really strong. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it is really strong. It's just not as strong in PvP because you're not constantly getting damage out. You're hitting parries, you're not healing. But in PvE, the Thirst Arc lifesteal is really strong. I don't think
That
it's
shit's
Yeah,
not
I'm
strong
fair to call
enough,
people
honestly.
brain dead
Just
for
to-
not knowing that. But
Yeah, no, just to clarify, I'm not saying he was brain dead. I said he did it on purpose to show that he can lifesteal through the damage, essentially, without even trying to parry. You can actually parry the White Bear and hit back harder, faster, essentially, than what he displayed. Like, it is a very low skill cap to be able to do that.
he's a pioneer. I think we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have anything they would like to touch on with pets or?
I mean, I think the idea that you just give them a limited resource, be it stamina or something else, that would determine the effectiveness of the animal. You know, it's not going to just be unlimitedly OP as fuck. You know, make it need a thing that it needs to be pulled back. It needs to regain stamina or some shit like that.
Yeah,
If you,
at first I
like,
was
if you
totally
overuse
against
it-
it, but I think stamina would be good for combat pets as well.
It would be good because you should have to manage your pet. You know, you shouldn't just be able to send it on one target. All right, it slaps it up, send it on to the next target, and then on to the next target, and on to the next target, and then the pet never gets tired or anything like that. You know, it's just like
Yeah, I
a
mean-
killing machine.
Horses have stamina. Why doesn't combat pets have stamina, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, another thing with pets, like, okay, so if you have 2 wolves, right? You know how you press the attack button, those 2 wolves go to that attack that one target. Like, I do believe there should be a separation between the pets that you own, so you can put one wolf on one target, one wolf on another
There-
target.
do that.
There already
Yeah,
is.
that's already in there. Yeah, that's
You
already
go to
in
the
there.
pet
Really?
tab and
Specific
you
pets
go to
window.
each tab, and they all have.
And
their
then you
own
have to
commands.
drag them to different
Yeah,
bars.
you can do that already.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
It's just you don't see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't say this is for this pet.
Yeah,
this
that's
is for
not
that pet.
clear in any way.
It's not clear enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody also brought up something very important in chat. How long until people figure out this isn't a 1v1 game? And I can't stress that enough, dude. We're not playing for fucking duel online. You know,
Yeah.
there are group compositions that you can implement, you know, going beyond your own standard of what you think is a good player, that would make you more prepared to handle more situations out in the wilderness. If you're stuck in a mindset where, you know, you and your guild can only be foot fighters because you're bad if you do anything else, it's very small-minded and you should be punished, because there are people out there who don't share that opinion, who are going to bring combat pets, who are going to bring fucking mounteds to the fight, you know, a combined group, and they're going to fuck you up. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, something that you got to learn. It's not a 1v1 game. I'm not playing this game so you can be a fucking good duelist, dude.
Yeah, I'm not
Clearly
coming
it's
at it like
not,
it's 1v1. Like, I'm coming at it just like as those 1v1 situations. Like, when you find yourself in those situations, like, how do you combat that?
The smartest way to balance mechanics is to look at it in a very small lens. I mean, that's just how this works. I don't know how you would go over balancing things if
Be
you
right
would
back real
look
quick.
at everything from a team fight perspective. That doesn't work very well, does
Yeah,
it?
because I mean, if you're in a team, you should bring something for everything, right? So you should have
Right,
your guys that are
exactly.
focusing on this and that. Like, I'm just covering it, like, balancing as a whole, as like if I'm a foot fighter and I run into one mounted combat guy, but chances are you're gonna run into 2 or 3 of them, or
Yeah,
four,
it's
right?
such a straw man argument to say, oh, it's not a 1v1 game when we're
Well,
talking about balance. And
check it
balance
out.
is just the nature of balance is making things equal. So you start at a very small point to balance things out, to make mechanics balanced. I mean,
But things aren't equal though. Like,
Yeah, they're not gonna be
realistically.
equal.
yeah, but you want to approximate the balance. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but you can at least try. And
I
you
mean,
can
it
start from the small scale and work your way up. I don't see why that's a problem and why that's people have to make this strawman argument. Oh, it's not a 1v1 game. I mean, if that's the mindset we have, then we can very well just say, okay, it's perfectly well. Just bring more people to the fight and you're good. Game's good. If I bring a sword that makes 10,000 damage, it's perfectly balanced because you could bring 20 people and kill me before I kill all of them, you know?
I mean, like, attacking a white bear, like, you shouldn't be able to 1v1 a white bear. I mean, you try and go outside and 1v1, like, it should probably take 2, right? Like, one person's going to take
Yeah,
the
it's-
aggro, the other person's going to attack it.
You're not gonna outrun it. It's not gonna get tired.
Yeah, you're
before
not
you
gonna
get
outrun
tired,
it.
You know.
Well,
I
I
mean, maybe
think-
if you're a Vila, you can outrun it, right?
Well, no, you can't
Yeah, I
run
think
it
so.
as anything.
Vilas with their clades pop outrun everything almost except for mounted. I think.
Well, if the problem is like it's not going to stand out. Is the other.
But
problem.
the whole thing about it is, like, when you go out there, you're not going to run into just one person. you're gonna run into guilds. There's guilds out there, and they're
Well, I mean,
roaming.
my biggest thing about balance is it shouldn't be foot fighter greater than or equal to every other class. It shouldn't be that way. You can't be, as a foot fighter, able to handle every fucking situation. There should be specializations. There should be specific things that you spec for as a foot fighter. There are 1,000 different fucking foot fighter builds. You focus dismounts as a foot fighter. You focus fucking range damage as a foot fighter that can also use melee. You shouldn't be able to, as a foot fighter, be able to possibly win in every fucking scenario. That's not balance, dude. That's just making one
why is
class
that bad?
the.
Why is it bad
That's
that
terrible.
as a
Oh.
MC you could win every fight, as a foot fighter you can every fight,
You
as a
can't win
mounted
every
mage,
fight as an MC.
but we could try to achieve such a balance. No, I mean, why is that bad?
Then what would
No,
be the point of
why-
specialization?
Why is your goal to have rock paper scissors when instead we could try to achieve actual skill-based game independent of the class that you choose to play with?
I'm not going for RuneScape balance here. I'm not going for fucking, mage beats warrior beats ranger dumb shit, dude. I don't agree with that sort of like triangle fucking balance. I've never found that entertaining in video games. But whenever you take away the specialization of a class specifically designed to counter a different kind of class, and instead you just have everybody can possibly beat everybody else, it doesn't matter what they specialize in, then why the fuck wouldn't everybody just play foot fighters at that point?
Right.
Because some
Yes,
people
sir.
like to play mounted and some people like to play mages. I mean, that I don't see why something needs to beat something else in 90 of 100 of the cases when you could try to make them as equal as possible.
Well, like Vignes said before, like the foot fighter, like if you're going out into the open and that's a MC's territory, like you should just understand the consequence of I might run into an MC and he might fucking kill me if I can't find a rock or water or whatever.
And in the
Right.
same light, say you as an MC go into the woods and you encounter a foot fighter.
Yeah,
You know,
you're
that's
screwed.
his fucking territory. He should be able to either fuck you off or kill you.
Yeah, and if you get below 50% HP on your horse, you just ride away. So what you're describing here is not the case. You don't, if you, as a mounted, for example, don't want to die against a footy, you don't die,
But
period.
that's the perks of being on a horse, though.
Yeah, exactly.
just-
There's an inherent advantage already that we need to kind of not nerve in the sense that it's useless, but at least approximate, to make it fun for all parties.
I don't know.
I don't want this to be Foot Fighter Online. I just want it to be an even playing field for
I
everybody.
don't.
Well,
I don't
when-
know about that
but
because you're on
in
a
the
horse in the
same
first
breath,
place. Like, if I'm on a horse and I encounter a foot fighter and I want to get away, of course I'm gonna get away. I'm faster. Like that. The foot fighter shouldn't do more damage or slow me down because I'm on a horse. Like the foot fighter should have chose to be on a freaking horse too, so he can catch up with me.
I mean, we
Yeah,
talk
it's not like Pokemon where you're locked into that battle, and once it starts, you can't leave. Like you can't do that. You can't just say just because I'm on foot and you're faster, you should be able to stay. And in the same breath, every foot fighter has a bow. If you pull out a longbow, that if he had engaged and you got him down to maybe half health, the bow has enough range to put down that horse before he gets out of there. It's just making smart decisions like that.
I mean, you say that Mounteds are the only ones that have the option to engage and disengage at will. That's not true. Foot fighters have the option to engage and disengage at will, knowing their fucking terrain, having a fucking escape route planned out. I can tell you right now, if you go in the woods and you're a foot fighter and I'm chasing you, I'm not going to chase you into the fucking woods. You have that option. You have the ability to run away. You can use terrain to your advantage. It's not just MCs can just come in, do their damage, kill you, and get the fuck out, or come in, their horse is low, they run away. You have those same options, especially right now whenever you can perfect parry all the damage in the world that an MC can do. There's no knockdown, there's no chip damage. You can engage and disengage at will as a foot fighter. You have more outplay potential as a foot fighter already than an MC would have.
I think when we're talking about balance too, and you're discussing that, well, if the mounted gets low, he can just leave. We need to look at situations where this really matters. Like, for instance, a siege. If you're getting siege and your guild is like all MCs and the other group is like all foot fighters, yeah, these MCs could just leave, but then you get sieged. So it's not like a really strong balance point, because leaving a fight, you lose inherently. Whether you got the loot from him or not, he left the fight. He lost, essentially. Where in a siege, this is going to matter a lot more, or like housing and stuff in general. If you're getting siege, yeah, you can leave, but then he wins because he just took your shit from your house or your keep or whatever. So I think having them leave and you not getting their loot isn't really the end of the world. I don't really know if it plays into balance super well in these circumstances, like these high-end circumstances.
Yeah, I think Chieftain mentioned that in the last podcast that the foot fighter is already the king of defense. Like defending a point, you whether that guy got away or not, you defended your point. Like that's the foot fighter's role. That's his job. You kind of pigeonholed into that. You shouldn't be able to beat everything in the game as a foot fighter if you're already that strong in defending that point.
And I think a lot of keeps are designed around foot fights in general. I don't think there's many keep spots that are going to be like super mounted heavy because, like, you know, the keep spot at Sausage Lake, there's a little tiny gap and then it's completely surrounded by water. You know, Kernesh Keep, it's
Yeah.
up on a mountain. You know, where mounted will try and run away and they'll probably end up taking hella fall damage and lose their fucking horse. You know, I don't know all the keep spots. I'm not gonna say more slanted towards foot fighters, but from what I've seen, a lot of them favor foot fighters. Yes.
Well, so most of the keep spots are on locations to where mounted combat could probably be around the keep, but not directly around the walls of the keep. Like your foot fighters are going to be around the walls of the keep. Now there are a couple keep locations that are on flat ground. Like they have one over by MK, actually 2 or 3 by MK that MCs could actually be around the walls and stuff as well. But like you said, some of them are in like the jungle or Cran Keep to where you can't have MCs over there because of all the trees and all the objects you're going to collide with.
Yeah, I fall 5 feet on an MC. I take 105 fall damage. My horse is half HP. Congrats. I'm fucking off.
Yeah. Why haven't we talked about that?
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
shit's so annoying.
That's I
Breaking
mean
horse
that's
ankles.
that's not working as intended. Clearly, that's retarded.
I mean, it's fine. I'll take the billions of fall damage so that you can be more comfortable in the fucking woods and hills. You know,
No,
that's
fuck
fine.
that shit. That needs to go. That needs to be fixed.
The amount of times I was on a horse traveling somewhere, just two gearing and just my horse dying because of that it's too damn high.
Yeah, it's not balanced.
I mean, so people in the chat are talking about how like balance, like perfect balance. It's just a discussion. Like we're just discussing different ideas against it.
Yeah, nothing here is going into like Henrik's brain. Like, okay, I'm fixing this right now. This is just open in discussion, so the
I mean, you say
community
that.
can.
Until he drops it past
say
tomorrow
that.
and everything's
Yeah.
upside down.
It's like,
Let-
Yeah,
let
then
me
we'll
just
never
add
do
a-
this again.
Since
Henrik
you
just had
mentioned
a-
Henrik, there's something that needs to be in the game, and that is higher FOV.
and VoIP
Um,
sliders. We need VoIP options.
Render
Yeah.
distance,
Yes,
dude.
VoIP slider.
VoIP slider, yes.
dang.
We need
Some people are
fucking
just
render
way
distance.
distance.
too loud.
Oh,
Like
so you're
some-
talking about the names on render distance? Is what you're talking about? Like the.
No, I'm talking about if there's a guy on the other side of the map and I'm on a peak and I want to turn my fucking render distance way the fuck up and see that guy, his little pixel moving on the top of that mountain. I want to be able to do that. I don't want to have to ride up to somebody and see their player doll and get right up in their ass just to see who the
Yeah.
fuck that they are.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
my
I think
computer
player
can
render
handle-
distance should be further.
Yeah, if I can handle long distance rendering, why the fuck shouldn't I be able to throw my render distance up there? Almost every game has it, like that.
At least as
You know,
far
not
as
to
a
the
human eye can
extremes.
see, you know.
It's a client-side thing. If your computer can handle it, why not? Why shouldn't you be able to do it? I get it if you have a slower fucking potato PC and you're trying to play a modern-day MMORPG and you have to bottom out your render slider. Hey, man, that's on you. Like, sucks, but some of us spend thousands of dollars to be able to render in those pixels, and I want them, dude.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just a tiny pixel, at least you see something moving and you can, use a tactic against it instead of by the time they spawn on your screen, they see you, you see them, and you're screwed.
I mean, render distance in MO1 and in MO2, it's dog shit. You have no idea who the fuck you're rolling up on until you're right up on top of them. It shouldn't be like that. Earlier in the alpha, they actually had a very, very high render distance. If you were on the top of a mountain, you could see a guy all the way down in the middle of a valley, and that was sick as fuck. And I was stoked on it. Then they took it away in the name of, reducing server lag and stress on the server. But I don't know.
We should have that back.
Let's go ahead. We're gonna take a 12-minute break real quick because I really have to use the bathroom personally. Maybe some of these other guys do, or they want to grab a drink. We're gonna-
Coffee.
Yeah, take a 12-minute break. We'll table the discussion and we'll come back. But yeah, I'm just gonna AFK real quick, guys. If you need to as well, or if you guys also want to stay and keep talking, I don't care. But I'll be right back.
Sure, I'm gonna fix some more coffee.
Yep, thinking it's coffee time.
I guess I'll stay here and talk with the chat.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to Graxify because he said he was really small brain to try and interact with guilds that own keeps. Uh, why would that be small brain? That's the whole point of a sandbox. Like we're like the guilds that own keeps are not just gonna. It's not just gonna be the keep. There's gonna be cities around that keep. You want to build a house. You want to build a stronghold, and you pay taxes in their land. Like that's part of the game. Like the whole point of this game is community interaction. Like we don't want, it's not, you know, what's that game? Fortnite, where you just do your own thing and you never interact with the rest of the community other than to yell profanity at them through your mic or whatever. Like you want to interact with these guilds. They're not all, bad red guilds. Even I think Vicna said he's going to be building a city around his keep and, have citizens of his area. Like that's this style of game. Like it's not going to die because that's the way the game is. I don't know if you want to put your take in on that, but that's this game. If you're not into that, maybe this isn't the game for you.
It's a sandbox MMORPG, first off. People want to play in the sand. They want to build their fucking cities. They want to build their keeps. They want to have their armies. They want to have that, trading caravan player interaction or whatever the fuck. And it existed in MO1. There were like whole keep spots that were trade spots. There was actually a whole guild that built the player city that was focused around like, it was a neutral area where you could come and trade. Unfortunately, those guys were using duped gold to build it and it all got destroyed and they were all banned. But the ability to be able to do that sort of thing in a game, I think, is more sought after than just having your little fucking Fortnite 1v1 building matches or whatever the fuck. And I do have designs to build a city, sort of in the degree that it's open to a certain, demographic of players. I'll call them citizens that have no direct affiliation, no alliances, no like political standstills when it comes to being able to enter my city and use the trade broker and stuff like that. Sure, we'll have a list. Sure, we'll want to blacklist individuals that we, find undesirable, but it'll be mostly open to the larger population. It's not going to be a you come to my city, you get killed on sight. If you're on the bad people list, sure, I'm going to dunk your brain if you come to my city. I'm going to have guards and a blacklist. Blacklist is a mechanic that we're probably going to talk about as soon as we all come back because it's a very heavily debated mechanic, but that's a living, breathing world. That's a player-driven sandbox, and that's the whole reason I played MO1, and I hope that they retain that sort of capabilities in MO2.
I'm back, and yeah, let's talk about the blacklisting.
That'll be a good one. I have a lot to say
Yeah.
about blacklisting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should wait for everyone to come back before we start that topic. But,
Definitely.
to answer Graxify, he said yes, but everyone wants to do 200 v 200 people, or 200 v 200. People want 10 v 1 and 5 v 5, etc. Yeah, of course. And not everyone's gonna be on all the time. Like those 200 v 200 fights are usually, hey, you already tell someone, hey, I'm gonna come and attack you. Like for the stress test, there's 400 people. Hey, come to this area and we'll have a little event. Like it's very rare you're gonna find, unless we get really popular and there's tons of Zerg guilds, which is probably gonna happen at launch, but it's not gonna be sustainable for very long. Or you have 200 v 200 everywhere, all over the map. You'll have like maybe miscreants coming in wanting to mess with your city or your town, or small things like that. Sieges are gonna be less frequent than the small fights. The small fights are going to be, hey, we're roaming to get this material, and we saw these guys there, or they're on their way there, and we wanted to take their stuff, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never agreed with the mentality that Zerg should be punished and it should be easier for the small groups. Then what's the point of having a large group if you're just going to be punished for having a large group? Like, back in MO1, back in the old days, whenever the game was actually popping, you could roam with 30 guys, mounted group, and you'd encounter another roam of 30 guys, and you would bang it out, and whoever won, they'd, grip up all the looties, and they'd start going back at it, and they'd encounter another group of 30 guys, and it would be the same thing, and it was sick. PvP all over the place. You don't have that sort of mentality in MO2 right now. Everybody's flocking to fucking cities to fight in a guard zone. I see very little guild. We roam every day, out and about with like a 5 to 10 man group. All we encounter are the onesies and twosies. We don't get the big PvP fights unless we go to a city like Bakhti or Fabrinum or Meduli, and then just wait for the fucking town to gather up like 50 people to just come and grip us all. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't think large-scale guilds should be punished for having, numbers to be able to put on a battlefield that are taking over territory. Yeah, I mean, they're strong enough to take over territory. If you don't like that, get your own fucking Zerg. Get your own group of friends. Combat it. Instead of just, I should be defended because I don't have friends. I'm going to put it in a very, loose term right there.
Wait, what was the topic? Sorry.
We were just talking about Zerg guilds.
Oh, okay.
We want to talk about blacklisting whenever everybody comes back, though.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about war decks a bit too, so they kind of go a little bit hand in hand. Stuff that mouth hole puts in. Jesus.
Some very strong opinions in the chat.
Yeah. Donsky, they want to know why the camera's under your nose.
Oh, just cause, dude.
Where is it? Is it in front of your keyboard or?
Yeah, right next to my keyboard. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, boys, y'all waiting on me.
I don't know. Is Crackwing? Are you back?
I
Okay.
spilled the coffee again.
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 Yeah, what?
Bro, I'm telling you, I'm horrible at stuff in the house, bro.
Assassin, are you here?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
just typing
I
into
think
it.
we're just waiting on Crackwing at this point.
Yeah, I was trying to tell everybody we were going live and didn't know you were going to do it on YouTube this time. So I was
Mhm.
like, I saw you start the stream and I'm like, where the fuck is it? Why
had to
can't I
get
see it?
had to get Vicness in here, man. The only way.
It's all right, bro. It's
I
all right.
guarantee if we had did this on Twitch, my Twitch would be ripped up just like that.
And instantly, dude.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. And honestly, I'd rather have more people here from the community anyway. So
Mhm.
rather not limit anybody.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay. So I think you guys were wanting to talk about like blacklisting and stuff, or
Yeah, let's talk about blacklisting. I'll let somebody else start.
Yeah, so I don't know how blacklisting or ward declarations in general work because I didn't play MO1, but I'd love to listen in on
yeah,
this
just
topic.
tell us how it worked in MO1. Like, was there murder counts, rep loss? Like, well, I guess there wasn't rep loss, but I mean, was there murder counts involved with?
So I'll touch on the blacklisting part first. Basically, what it means is if you, as a large guild, put down territory-controlled towers that were within radius of a city, you innately took over control of that city. You then had some options as the controllers of that city. You could do things like turn off the ability to guard call. At one point, you could even turn the guards off and make it a red town. They took that away. Too many people complained about it. So instead, they just gave you the option to turn off the ability to call guards. Additionally, you could set taxes in that town. That gold would automatically go into your treasury because you controlled it. People sell things at the vendor there, purchase things at the vendor there. You would get a little bit of a cut, and you could set the tax rate. Additionally, you could blacklist people within your territory, and what that means is if somebody puts you on that blacklist and you go within that territory, you would get an alert. Hey, you're blacklisted within this within this territory. If you stay here for X amount of time, you're going to go criminal, and then anybody could kill you without repercussions. that was blacklisting. War decks, on the other hand, were, you know, a fucky system for a long time. For a little bit there, you could force a war deck on somebody. They didn't have to accept it. You had one forced war deck that you could do as a guild and say, hey, we're going to war with these people, and you took no repercussions for killing them within cities or anything. They couldn't murder count you. The guards wouldn't protect you or anything like that. I actually learned that lesson the hard way whenever I first joined the game. Joined some shit little guild out of Tindrum called Luna, who sieged down some dude's shed, and that dude came back and war decked him, forced a war deck on him, and then I was getting gripped up at the priest, literally farmed at the priest anytime I would res in Tindrum by this other guild. And that's force war decking. Additionally, you had just you know, a war deck statement where it would send it to their guild stone, hey, you've been war decked by these people, would you like to accept it or decline it? And they could accept it, and then you would go to war, like, you know, you would agree to it, you would go to war with them. And that was just war decking. There were no repercussions for killing a war deck. You wouldn't go grave for it. You wouldn't take a murder count for it. You could loot them. It was great. I loved it.
So I heard something recently about, because I asked a question about war decks on Rick's last stream Thursday, and he said something about the guild is going to have to accept. Are we not going to be able to force it upon somebody? Like, what if you want to go to war with somebody, but they keep declining it?
Force war deck is a very heavily debated topic because a lot of people misused it. They just, you know, force war deck some shit guild of noobs, and they would kill them all in town and grief them out of the game, essentially. So a lot of people said that was a bad idea. Then I started talking about maybe implementing a system to where, you know, there is a guild tier system, and it's based on how many people that you have in your guild before you hit a certain tier. And you should match that. You should be able to force war deck a guild at the same tier. Like, if I'm a tier 3 guild, I have 100 players, and I want to war deck, you know, some other guild that has 100 players, and they're also tier 3, I should be able to force war deck them. But I shouldn't be able to, with 100 players, force war deck a guild that only has 20 players in it that are tier 1. Right. That was my stance on it. And people are still telling me I'm a fucking idiot about that shit.
I like that idea, but okay, so do you have to war declarate somebody in order to siege their keep?
No. War
Nope,
decking
that's
was for
entirely-
basically entirely based around like town fighting.
Killing in
pretty
town?
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I would actually prefer that because, I mean, right now everybody's just sitting around blue waiting for the first person to poke gray.
Yep.
That's not really a fighting thing that I kind of like, you know, because the team that goes gray, now you have randoms jumping in just killing the gray guys too.
I think
And
the
regards-
war decking has to be done very well. It can't just be implemented and then just like, all right, guys, test it for us, because that'll kill the game so fast. It'll wipe entire guilds out of the game. People get frustrated. They can't be in the semi-safe zone that they had. Like, that was like, the town is like the safe zone for most people, but it's not exactly safe. But once you take that away, like, a lot of people would easily just quit the game. Like, if they didn't understand the mechanic, or they didn't understand that they would have to leave their guild, or, you know, it would just destroy guilds and people would leave. So I think,
Well,
if they're gonna have it in the game, they would have to do it based off of the tier system, like Vicna said, or it just can't be forced. Like,
well, I
don't
think
know.
the tier system would work because, like, you don't want a team of 100 people war decking someone that's like half their size and then just decimate them anyway. Like, you need a certain tier standard to force it upon them. But at the same time, like, if these two guilds are going at it, but one's like, nah, I don't ever want to fight you. Like, I don't. So then what's the point? Like, now you can't war each other in town. Like, there should be some system to force a war on somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a very heavily debated topic. Even if it were that way, where, you know, a tier 3 guild could only war deck another tier 3 guild, you would just make a sub guild to go war deck the fucking lower guild. You know, if they only had 20 people and that's what you had to match, you'd put 20 people in a sub guild and you'd go war deck them. Still entirely abusable system. It's just, you know,
But at least at that point, it'd be 20 on 20. It wouldn't be 100 on 20, you know?
yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe the guild is just a bunch of shit noobs somebody's trying to grief out of the game, so they put, you know, 20 of their best players in this sub guild to go grief a fucking shit guild that they want to force a war deck on.
So then maybe we should have a classification between I don't know, I guess maybe a shit guild would be considered straight PvE to where they're avoiding all PvP. So maybe if it's just a PvE guild, you couldn't force a war upon a PvE
Uh-oh.
guild.
PvP toggle. Here we go.
But if well, no, not toggle. I'm just saying, like, that would
mean-
keep you from griefing someone who doesn't PvP out of the game, right?
say a guild had to select something, like maybe they had a tier, maybe you can't even do war decks at tier 1. Maybe at tier 2 you can start doing war decks and you have to select what kind of guild you are. And it's on your guild stone. If you're a PvP guild, then you're entirely susceptible to getting a fucking
Right.
forced war deck.
Right.
If you're a PvE or a crafting or a trading guild, maybe you take away the option to get a forced war deck on you. I don't know.
Right.
But
But
there would
even
have to
then,
be
that's
some
entirely
repercussion.
abusable.
There would have to be
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
penalty to only being a PvE guild. Otherwise, everyone would just be a PvE guild.
If
You
you're
would
a
lose
PvE
the
guild, then I
ability
think you
to.
shouldn't be able to just war deck someone. If you really want to choose that route and you're given the option, you shouldn't just be able to, oh, nobody can war deck me, but I could war deck somebody else. You know?
Yeah, you couldn't war deck anyone, and you couldn't own a keep. You just take away all the options on the table.
Yeah, I don't think a system like that would work at all, because at the nature of Mortal Online, it's a PvP game. No matter what, you cannot avoid PvP.
Well, then the PvEers need to join a PvP guild then, and just take protection.
Not
gotta
necessarily. They could
buckle up.
ally a PvP guild and probably get by in the game fine.
And just get war decked, and then what is the other?
Well, it depends on how they implement war decks, but yeah.
Well, I mean, in MO1, if you dropped a fucking forced a war deck on somebody that was in an alliance, you immediately got like 6 fucking war decks forced on you. You know, like it was you know, there were repercussions for it based off of how politically active somebody was.
And I'm
But on the
coming
other
at
hand-
this because I don't know anything about it. So
I mean, I think this system, I believe, it has been in various sorts in other games as well. And it will always, as Vicness has said many times, however you set it up, it will be exploited some way. And to me personally, I think it's fine. Just put it in, even if it's exploitable, it's part of the game. If people get shit on that hard, they just have to ally up, recruit people, do whatever. I think it's part of the game.
or
Yeah,
join a
but
bigger
but
guild.
would you agree that it kills the game faster than any other mechanic by being able to
Well-
just force war deck guilds?
probably
Yeah,
make people
well-
rage quit?
Well, get good, I guess. I
Get
mean,
good, I
I would-
guess.
I wouldn't have a problem if, I get war decked by too many guilds. That's basically free content. I log in the evening after work, I have that many enemies, that's fine with me. And if
So-
I get shit on, I just get better or join a different
So,
guild.
so your response was get good, I guess. Do you think that the majority of the MO population has this mindset?
If
No.
any community, then the one of a PvP hardcore sandbox game.
Well,
I
it is
mean,
it is a hardcore sandbox game, but there's a lot of people that come here because they like the game, not because it's hardcore PvP.
I mean, when you look at Mortal Online 2, firstly, you should look at what it's tagged under, which is, full loot open PvP hardcore MMORPG. You can be killed anywhere and you lose all your stuff whenever you die. They come to the game knowing this, this is what the game is, dude. You're going to be killed out in the wilderness, you're going to lose all your stuff. And that in its own right already deters a lot of players from like sitting down and playing the game. Either they do get good, like Aldwin put it, or they just fucking leave. So
Well-
then why the rest of us who are here for that full loot open PvP hardcore MMORPG, I would love to see war decks in the game. I would love to be able to force war deck. I would love to see it done in a way that makes it less exploitable so that you could just grief new guilds if that's what your fucking guild's prerogative is. I'd like to see it done right, but I definitely want to see it in the game. I don't want to have that lack of content, that lack of political fucking structure that you could just go to war with a guild for a very definitive end. One person, one guild comes out the other end stronger, and maybe they destroyed the other guild. Maybe they all stopped playing the game. I don't know. That's how it functioned in MO1. Whole guilds would get griefed out of the game. I don't want to say griefed. Whole guilds would go to war with another guild, and they'd lose, and they'd rage quit the game. That shit's just gonna happen.
I mean, I 100% agree with that, Vic. I think some people overlook the hardcore aspect on the title because they can't find another game like it. And that's why we have a ton of PvE people here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to just... I mean, it's a hardcore PvP MMO. You want to come, you want to craft, you want to feel good, you want to have your fucking role play, dude. I don't know. I don't know if you're in the right spot. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Right. But I mean, it is a good role-playing game. I mean, there's not many other games out there that actually have this type of role play. But I mean, I think everybody should come here with the mindset that you do need to learn PvP. You're going to need to fight for your loot. Like, you're just going to have to. And I mean, okay, so as a new player, I started playing 3 months ago. I came to the realization really quick, hey, I have to learn PvP. You know, like, and then PvE just becomes a part of farming to get the materials that you need to PvP. And I mean, 3 months I joined a PvP guild because I realized I can't play this game if I don't PvP.
I mean, you could play it. It's just gonna be boring
You're
as
just gonna
fuck.
get shit on, man. I mean, yeah, you're gonna be bored, or you're gonna be out farming for hours on end to come home and get ganked and all your stuff's gone. I mean, where's the
That's the
reward
joy
in
of
that?
it, man. You know, like we have so many MMOs like these days where you farm, 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 you get your gold, you get your XP, and there's just no risk. You could do the same thing over and over and over again until you get to that little max level, and then what? You know, you never have a risk of losing anything. There's never that uncertainty when traveling the world or anything like that. You already know what's going to happen, and like PvP is organized in in these other games. I myself, as a mainly PvE player and crafter, very welcome. I welcome PvP all the time, and I love doing the PvP in the game because it's exciting. You know, I could go somewhere with plans of getting a certain material and not know that someone's going to be waiting for my ass. That's the same thing with guilds, you know, like even though we have a large focus on trading and integrity, you know, PvP, we like to do PvP as well. So we get out there and we do some fights. And we know that there's going to be other guilds later on that are just going to come and war deck us just because, you know, they know we got the goods. And I'm
Right.
okay with that. I'm fully okay with that.
We got the goods.
And you know, it also adds to community engagement because if you have, like, we have an empire building guild, we have our PvP players and we have our PvE players. For when there's no PvP going on, the PvPers can't find PvP on roams, and the PvE players want to go out and they need security. The PvP players will log in, you know, to go with them because they're going to hotspots where they will get PvP.
Well, that's
Does
how
that
it
make
should be.
sense?
Like, if you're a PvE, you should join a guild or be a sub guild of a PvP guild, or like, right, you know, like that guild is going to own a territory in the map, so you need to live in their territory. And if you're farming, maybe you need them as a patrol or an alliance as a patrol. Like, you have to work the mechanics as they are. But at the same time, like, you're not going to avoid PvP in this game. And so some people who PvE see it as a rush, right? Like, I spend 5 hours out farming, my bags are full, so now it's a rush of, like, adrenaline rush of me trying to avoid conflict or getting in conflict and leaving. But at the same time, like, I feel like if you run into conflict and your numbers are similar, you should try to beat them and go home with even more gear. Like, that's even more rewarding than just running away.
So, we were talking about war decks and like if you know you could only war deck a certain tier or whatever, that people would just make a sub guild and war deck that. I think a way to get around that exploit of just forcing a war deck on a sub guild and avoiding that forced war deck in return on you is if they make it so alliances aren't able to access keeps and stuff like that. I think that would make that, like, if like there's like I don't know 50 people in acolytes and there's another guild that's gonna war deck us, we know it's coming, so we put like half these people in, you know, another guild. Those people shouldn't be able to access our keep. I don't think the alliance should have access to like our keep or like our territory, like opening our houses and stuff like that. I think that would be a way to avoid like sub guilds in general, because if you have assets, they would become obsolete to this other guild, alliance or no.
Well, I mean, the alliance system in MO1, it allowed you to dictate all of that, you know, which alliance could have the permissions to open up a gate and stuff like that. And I'd like to see that sort of, you know, alliance engagement added in MO2. War decks, like I said, they're a touchy subject. You know, there's, you know, everybody has their fucking opinion on how it would work perfectly. But in the end, like, people are going to find a way to exploit it, you know, dodge it, abuse it. It's just the way it is. Like with everything else in this fucking game, people are gonna find a way to min-max it, abuse it, use it to their advantage. You know, that was just MO1 in a nutshell. How to fucking abuse everything that you could so that you can min-max your chances of winning in a war or a siege or, you know, anything like that. At one point, there was players that were fucking using spiritism to res themselves in the middle of Mangannons and to turn the Mangs and all this other stupid shit to just impede a siege. Like, that's just shit you're gonna have to deal with in the game. That's just the community being shitty fucking people. I'd like to talk about blacklisting. I hear there are some very strong opinions about blacklisting.
Yeah, no, continue on the blacklisting, because we touched on it, but then we moved to war decks.
I think blacklisting should 100% be in the game for keep.
I agree.
And if
100%.
if you own a town, you should dictate who goes into the town. It shouldn't just be
100%.
taxes.
I think you should as well.
I think if blacklisting is properly implemented, war decking wouldn't even be that big of a deal, honestly. Like, it would become less of a problem. Because, like, okay, let's say you're Victus and you live in Vada and you have this little fucking rat guild and they're annoying as fuck. They can war deck you and they have a lot less to lose than Victus if it's like 100 players or whatever he has. You know, there's just 5 griefers. They log on whenever and just grief someone, log out. But if they're blacklisted, that's not even a problem. Like, the guards will just kill them or whatever, however it ends up working. But I think blacklist is really needed as far as like owning a keep and making it worth it to own a town. Like, you own the town, you should dictate who comes and goes.
100%.
Agree that you can blacklist people at, or a certain cost to blacklisting people, because like there's no stopping me from taking control of a town with my guild and then literally blacklisting everyone out of it.
Right, but that doesn't help you because then you're not getting the taxes.
I'm gonna war deck you.
Why not?
Yeah, you
Like,
get no taxes. You get pushback from the community. You're probably not gonna have that keep for very long.
And people will probably fucking siege you over it. Like, honestly,
A lot of people will war deck you.
that's
Generates
exactly the point, though, right? So you blacklist everybody. So they're like, okay, let's F these guys.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the point is. That things like that thrive, or just they foster conflict. I'm
Yeah.
totally for blacklisting. I don't care if I can go to half of the cities. If I want to change it, I just go there still and just kill people.
And
Okay,
blacklisting wasn't a free action. Blacklisting costed prominence. Everything you did as a guild, every decision you made as far as controlling TC or cities, costed you prominence. And if you didn't upkeep prominence, then you would lose the ability, you would lose control. So you have to be out there constantly grinding your prominence, constantly doing PvE or, paying it in gold into the, the fucking treasury dude NPC at your fucking keep. It's not like you blacklist somebody and then you never have to worry about them again. Additionally, it does cause conflict. In MO1, I got blacklisted out of Meduli, and we went to war over it and took control of the city away from the people who blacklisted us. It is a conflict-generating mechanic. You don't agree you've been blacklisted, garner some fucking support and go to war with that people, take away their control, which is great. It, gives you PvP, gives you content, gives your guild a fucking direction. So I think 100% it should be in the game. I don't know why there's so much pushback, and it's largely from the rat, undesirable fucking community that are just, all they play is to grief. All they play is to just grip horses or kill noobs in cities and exploit mechanics. These people are the only ones that are like, hey, this shouldn't be in the game. This is a shitty mechanic.
I don't even see
Fuck
how they have
those
fun doing it. it's just stupid.
they do it for the reaction, so I can
know they do-
understand.
Yeah,
but
it's the reaction, but I wouldn't come home from work and do that shit, man. Bunch of other shit to do.
maybe they don't work. Who knows?
I mean, if a guild has puts in the effort, puts in the time, builds the TC, builds their keep, and they take over a city, 100% they should have the say on who can be in their city. And it's going to cost them. They still need to put in the work. They still need to have the prominence to be able to blacklist and maintain a blacklist.
Does anyone
Shadow-
does anyone not want blacklisting in here? I'm just curious if they have an opposing
No, I
opinion.
completely agree with that. It creates the game content. I mean, if you own a city, you should be able to blacklist everybody. If it creates a war, then it creates a war. Like, this game, between the guilds, this game survives off of drama and politics, man. That's what it's about.
There's a
The
fair
deepest-
point though in the comments that blacklisting removes the responsibility to defend the town properly for the guild.
No,
Okay,
you war
so-
deck it.
I'd like to touch on that. Somebody called it a lazy mechanic. Let me read it. Blacklisting is a lazy mechanic through and through. If a Zerg can't handle fighting a few rats, they don't deserve to own a city. It's not about fighting a few rats. It's about a few rats coming to the town that you own and exploiting the mechanic of guards and lictors as a safe zone. You can't touch them in the city. You can't do anything to them in the city if they're just sitting at the bank. There's a lictor right there. Sure, you could all flame strike them at the same time and you all go gray, but congratulations, that lictor is going to kill all of you. So all that to kill one fucking rat, dude? Instead, I could have a mechanic that says, this guy who stands in my bank in Vada, screams the N-word over VoIP constantly. Yeah, I'm going to blacklist him. He no longer has access to my city. And that's a great fucking mechanic. It's not a lazy mechanic.
Agree.
I think
Lazy
100%.
mechanics is giving
Because I
them a
don't
safe
think-
zone, giving them a platform with which they can do that shit with no repercussion or punishment. There's no way for me to remove them. It's not fighting in a city at that point. They're just exploiting a safe zone for whatever trolling means that they want to achieve.
Wouldn't Wardex solve that
Absolutely.
though?
If they're not gilded, you can't ward deck them. They can just stand in the bank and do whatever
Yeah.
they want.
So
say
that's why
whatever
we
they
need
want.
blacklisting.
So it's
100%.
for individuals basically.
Yes.
Specific people, all right.
Well,
Yes.
you
I mean,
will
could
have
probably
entire
blacklist a guild
guilds
too, right?
You'll have entire guilds drop guild just to fuck with you in town. Like it'll happen.
You can't blacklist a tag. You can only blacklist individual players, and it costed you prominence to do it.
Well, do you think that we should be able to blacklist a tag as well as individuals in MO2?
You would just ward deck a tag. That was the.
And that would keep them from the town?
I mean, that would give them the opportunity to fight in the town, and if you were
Oh, okay,
better,
yeah. I
No.
got you.
His response was, turn off guards and do it yourself.
I mean, if I
Yeah.
could do that, dude, 100% I would do that. But I'm telling you right now, they're not going to give you the ability to turn off guards within cities that you can control. They can turn off
Yeah.
the ability to guard call, which is a very deliberate action where you type /guard at a gray person, and the guards would even run out of town to go try to kill somebody. But they're not going to eliminate the presence of guards, period. It's just not going to happen.
So that led me to the question. So could you own Cave Camp, Kranesh, GY, or Jungle Camp since they don't have any guards at all? And if you did own those, would guards spawn, or do you just have to hold it as a guild?
You
I think
just have to hold it as a
You,
guild.
you still get the
Okay, okay.
taxes from those places, though, correct? From owning them?
Yeah, you
Okay.
still get the
Okay.
taxes. You could set
Gotcha.
the tax rate. You just wouldn't have NPC guards.
I got you. Okay. So Blue Town's the only ones with guards if you own them.
That's not
Yeah.
true because Henrik did confirm on stream that you can hire bandits. From red to blue, you can hire guards. You can hire whatever you want, essentially.
At
Yeah, I
towns?
Was
was
that
talking about-
referenced?
How it existed in MO1. It was just that was the way it was.
How close were
I
you
don't
able to put guards near towns in MO1? Does anyone know?
There was a build radius around a city. You know, there was a certain amount of space before you could build an asset, like, say, a wall, and then put a guard on that wall, and it was too far for it to be effective in a town.
Okay. Just
You could put
curious.
guards on the outside of a town, I guess, if you really wanted to put a house down and a wall and throw a fucking guard on it. You could do that, but it would hardly protect the town at all.
So could you decide where to place the guards,
In MO1,
or were they
You're
just
talking
like
about-
random spawn?
if you like got an NPC contract for a guard, you could put it in a specific area. I think it had
Okay.
to be attached to an asset, like either a wall or a building or a bank or something like that.
Oh, okay, so it would have the perimeter of that asset.
Yeah.
Very interesting, guys. I didn't know anything about any of these mechanics, so I do appreciate going up the topic.
MO1 was depthy, and I think they're going to try to transfer as much of that, those mechanics that they had as far as like political infrastructure and shit into MO2. And all we have to go on is the basis in which they implemented it in MO1.
I mean, it needs it because this game is a power struggle between guilds.
Well, I mean, it's player driven, and the more power you give to players to control, I think the better off the game is.
Yeah, the game is
100%.
extremely political. Like it always has been, probably always will be, and that's just kind of how it is. We talked about this a little bit earlier. We talked about like alliances being able to access keeps and stuff. Like I don't agree with this. I don't think if you're in an alliance and you don't own a keep, I don't think you should be able to have access to this keep. I think it should be solely per guild, and it should be like a guild achievement, because otherwise this just encourages nut cups and whatever else you want to call it, like server wide like alliances. Like
Well, what do
I
you
don't
mean?
know.
Like one guild gets a keep and then they get to decide who gets to come inside?
yeah, that's how it worked in MO1 from my understanding of what Victor said. Like they could set the permissions of like you can access this place or that place or whatever. I think it should be solely to the guild to access assets like territory, housing, stuff like that.
If I remember correctly, I mean, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a permission on the general area of the keep, so you could like set a market and then inside the keep, and then make it to where everybody could come in there if you wanted to, and then there was a separate permission for who could come inside, like the king's quarters or the actual inside of the keep, right?
All of the permissions were very specific, which I enjoyed, and I would like to see it that way again. If a guild owns a keep and they have an inner sanctum that they want to give their alliance access to, I think that comes down on the guild controlling the asset if they want to, give or deny those permissions. I think they should be able to. They should have the right to do so.
I think those permissions should be within the own guild per rank, personally, and that is just to promote more regional, more like less guilds involved. Like if this guild is living out of your keep, they are under your protection, all this, why wouldn't they just join your guild at that point? You just make it another wing of your guild. Like, okay, these are our PvE players or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever they do.
I see what you're talking about because that creates more conflict over just the 16 keeps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people enjoy their sovereignty, I guess. If I, had it my way, I'd absorb Integrity and Draco Sylvan, and we'd all be one guild, and it'd be great. But,
I mean, yeah.
Integrity enjoys their direction, DS enjoys their direction, and if I build a city that has an inner sanctum, I would like to give them access to it. I'd like to give them the choice to be able to
And some
come
people
into
don't
my
want to open a
keep or not.
keep. Some people don't want to own a keep.
Yeah, some people don't even want to own TC assets.
Right, but then they get all the benefits of the TC assets by allying up with guilds.
Yeah, but I don't think we should block them from having those access if they're.
I mean, you can open it to everybody or only close it for your guild. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you should be able to set perms for like alliances to be able to enter your whole marketplace and your whole like inner sanctum if you want. Like, just because it only encourages more people to have more alliances rather than have the guild v guild conflicts, you'll end up with the west versus the east, which is cool in theory, but it's gonna be like a shit show. It's gonna be like constant ninja siege. It's gonna be constant, like, I don't know, just I don't want to say griefing, but constant war and like,
No.
you know.
Maybe
Well,
Vic can touch on it because he dealt with a lot of keep stuff in MO1.
Well, that's just going to be the way it is. People are going to nut cup. People don't want to lose. If they can garner support and grab another 50-man guild to help them siege down another keep, they're going to do it. You don't need to put mechanics in place to protect against it. It's going to happen one way or another. It comes back to the Mortal Online 2 community is a fucking shitty cesspool of individuals. Like no flame or anything, but it just is what it is. So you're going to have those individuals that are going to try to ninja siege you nonstop, reading your fucking off hours, trying to get as many people as they can to grip up your stuff. That never changed in MO1. That was always present in MO1, ninja sieges. And then people want to, throw up more ideas about mechanics to safeguard against ninja sieges, like declaring a siege window with which your assets are siegeable. I don't agree with anything like that. It's just putting more restrictions on it. Makes it less sandbox, and the more restrictions we get around, defending fucking TC or defending your keep or things you can or can't do as far as permissions in your own assets that you built, you should be able to control entirely, 100%, who has access to your assets. If you want to give it to a fucking random, you want to tag him up to be able to access your house, you should be able to. But the more restrictions you put on it, the less dope, I think. I don't want siege windows. If I get ninja siege, so be it. Maybe I should have hired more EUs. I don't know.
Well, I think
Yeah, I
Henrik
completely
touched
agree
on
with
that a
that.
little bit. About like maybe during those off hours, the guards would be cheaper or something similar to that.
I mean,
have to find
guards in theory, they're great. I'm just telling you right now, guards aren't going to stop a siege. They're entirely farmable, especially the system that he's talking about implementing, which is you hire an NPC guard, you have to then gear that NPC guard, best in slot, min-max your own guard, and then whenever he goes out there and dies because combat AI is dog shit, he gets parried and farmed down instantly. Congrats, that tongue steel set you gave your guard with Ogmeem's sword, it's now lootable. They could farm your fucking guards, and it's just going to cost you in the bank. So, I don't know. Guards aren't going to be that dope. They're not going to save your fucking assets, especially, like, even if they're cheaper, in your off hours or some shit like that.
right.
Isn't it
Yeah, and just to
industry-leading
kind
AI though?
What was that?
Isn't it industry-leading AI though?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We were talking about the depth of the game. Diplomacy is something that you can use to kind of prevent against ninja sieges. If I know we're weak in EU or the Australian time zone that almost no one plays, which is most of the time the ninja siege times, then you go ahead and you politically approach a huge Australian guild and say, hey, I want to give you access to my keep during these hours. If something's happening, alert us, or just defend as needed, things like that. Like, options are good. Taking away options, never good for a game.
Yeah, or your guild should start trying to recruit some EU guys.
I mean, I think it comes down, the risk. what you're responsible for whenever you put up assets. You know, somebody can just come along with a group much larger than yours and siege it down. It comes down to the individual who placed the assets to properly defend it. And if they can't, then sure, they don't deserve to have it. If I
Agree
build this
with that.
grandiose fucking city with my guild of, you know, fucking 100 people or whatever it is, and a guild of 200 people come along and decide that I don't deserve those assets, and I didn't put in the fucking political footwork to get, you know, a massive alliance or anything that would be able to defend against that group, sure, I don't deserve my city. Blow it all up. Do whatever, you know, you have the power to do. That's the whole point of a sandbox MMORPG.
Yeah, but I would argue it's easier to form alliances and make deals than it is to build up your own guild.
I
don't know,
agree
dude.
because people want their sovereignty too. Like some people don't. I don't know. Some people aren't going to align with your guild.
The amount of times I've seen guilds rely solely on alliance affiliation to carry them to victory, and then somebody decides it's not worth it anymore and fucking turns on them and blows them up. Too many times, dude. That shit happened regularly in MO1.
So you're saying that's the penalty to forming massive alliances? Is that someone
Yeah,
might just stab you in the,
At
in the
any
back?
point, you could see a flop, dude. That's the political game. That's
Yeah.
that Game of Thrones level shit that I
There is
played
a
Mortal
consequence to
Online
every
for.
choice.
Game of Thrones.
That only
consequences.
drives more conflict, so that's good. I mean,
I mean, you saw it with the
Everything we
ID,
do in this game.
like the RPK ID war. Longest fucking war in Mortal Online 1 history, dude. That shit went for 5 years. There were so many fucking backstabbings, dude. We had a kid that was in our guild. We knew he had loose RPK affiliations. His brother was an RPK member. We trusted the kid. We lost the whole fucking palisade because that kid decided to turn in one day. Lost the whole palisade because of it. Like,
Wait,
that's the fucking risk that you take whenever you do this shit.
what guild
dude.
were you in? What guild is this?
This was in Hawk, and it was a guy named Luhidi who had a brother in
Oh.
RPK.
I-
And Luhidi owned a palisade outside of Meduli that we launched a lot of our ground forces from, that we had a lot of, you know, shit in. We banked a lot of shit there, kept a lot of horses there. We'd launch groups from there to attack Hurge assets and Hurge towers and shit. One day, Luhidi decided he was going to join RPK and fucking changed all the permissions on the assets, and it was now an RPK asset in the middle of our territory that they could then counter siege us with, and they did, and it was not very cash money, you know, but
It was
we rolled
all a
the
part
dice.
of the plan.
That's very, very similar to what happened to me and my guild before I left the game for a little while. We were in Amadeus or Deus, and we were essentially basically an ID sub guild by all extensions because they protected us, they let us live in their lands, etc. And we had a guy, an officer in the guild who I guess was just growing in a different direction for whatever reason. Opened the gates, RPK ran in, smashed the whole fucking palisade. Guild was demoralized. The guild was destroyed. I came back to the game. They didn't exist anymore. I was like, oh, okay, well,
Yep.
fuck.
Motherfuckers opening gates. The biggest reason to have a spy in a guild, dude, is so they can open up the gates for those main cannons.
Yeah.
It's a fucking political game, and you have to play it if you're going to be putting TC on the map. I think you should understand that inherently you're going to need alliances, you're going to need relations, you're going to need connections, and if you don't, you're going to get fucking blown up.
Housey Poo says that happened to a guild that used to be in the collective with DS Legion and Int. The only other guild I could think of that was in the collective was Mer Viking.
Yeah, Mere Vikings decided one day that they wanted to do everything themselves and cut all relations, and then came back a couple of months later and tried to get back in, but we said no. You know, they made their bed, so...
Oh,
Yeah, choices have a lot of meaning in
well,
this game.
I thought he was saying like they betrayed you and did something.
No, there was no like grand betrayal or anything. They just decided that they were no longer interested in being in an alliance, I guess.
Oh, he said
Oh.
no.
Then I have no idea who he's fucking talking about.
You won't say who, you better say who.
Oh, wait.
wasn't that kind of sarcastic though?
Glitch said mana. I don't know. If
I think
he's
they're talking about mana.
Oh yeah, he is talking about mana. He said the name rhymes with
Alright.
mana.
That was an interesting one if you guys want the story.
Okay, just to clear any rumors, there was no mana like spy in AC or something. I heard some rumors that they were coordinating with us if whether they could attack us or something. There was
I
nothing.
mean,
like
I'd
that.
like to hear the history.
Well, we found out that they had asked permission from AC to fight with, you know...
Yes, before anything, like the days before or something, they asked like, "Hey, do you mind if we come tag along with you guys?"
Yeah, and that's not very cash money. That's not somebody we want to trust with our fucking assets.
Right, correct. That is true. But there wasn't like any like I don't know, behind the scenes, like in the current moment or anything.
I mean, it was pretty straightforward. We went, with like 80 people to go fight in GK to get some big ass fucking PvP. Took 2 hours to get there. We were all gassed by the time we got there, dude. I'm telling you right now, trying to rally 80 people in a direction, tell them where to go, all that shit. It was very taxing. I was fucking exhausted by the time we got there. And we saw the trap, and I was like, hey, we're big and bad. Fuck their trap. And we pushed it. We expected a mana mage line to be able to, carry us in the heals. We didn't get that. And we got fucking crushed and routed almost instantly. There were some splinter groups that, stayed around at PvP, got some kills, but overall, as a large-scale group, we were routed. And it made us take a step back and look at this, how ineffective we were as a group, as an alliance. And then some other things got unearthed, like Mana was asking permission from AC to PvP with us, and they're supposed to be an our collective, our alliance, So we just took a vote real quick amongst the guild leaders of the collective, and we're like, hey, we're not interested in retaining Mana within our group, and we cut ties. And then after that, there was a bunch of drama. Man was like, oh, we're going to put you on our KOS list. And it's like, all right, dude, well, if you can't even fucking heal us, we're not worried about you putting on our KOS list, so...
Okay, so Mana was supposed to be the mage line providing heals to the foot fighters?
The main mages, yes. Like, there was other mages, but they were like they were all mages. So I think there was like what, like 12 of them or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was. I think it was double
And
digits.
this is just the other side of the coin on the quote unquote Zerg. Where people say like, oh, your Zerg guilds killed the game. It's not an easy task to coordinate a huge force. It's tasking. There's a lot of different assets you move at the same time, and sometimes you have different roles. Like you have your mages, you have your front line, you got your mounted. It's not something that's it's just hey, we show up and win. You can absolutely fuck yourself if you're not moving correctly and doing different things.
Well, yeah, it takes practice. Everybody needs to know their position on the battlefield, where they need to be at all times.
Yeah, people that are not in your comms, not used to the cohesive type of fight they usually do. So it's not, Zerg guilds aren't the be all end all. Like I saw it on the forum post. Zergs are gonna kill this game. This game's gonna flop. Like what?
Honestly, I think the
Absolutely
community
not.
tries to find every excuse to be negative about everything.
Well, you look at those people who post that shit, and it's these little rat crews with like fucking 10 people in them. So I don't know. They want to punish everybody else because they only have the capacity to retain 10 like-minded individuals at any given time. Get better friends. I don't know.
Does anyone else have a topic they'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I have another one.
Nice.
Shoot.
That would be using skills on mounted. Why the fuck can't you use skills on mounted? What the fuck is the difference between being on your own 2 feet and using a war cry and being on a horse and using a war cry?
I think Henrik said recently that was actually a bug
Yeah, it
that was
must
going to be fixed.
There's no way that's intended.
Because because I have an Ogmir build, and if I can smoke a pipe on the ground, why can't I smoke a pipe on my horse?
Well, you say it's not intended, but when you try to use a skill on a horse, it literally says you cannot use skills on a horse.
Yeah, I know, but I think that was actually supposed to be a bug. I think some skills are not allowed on horses, some are. I think it's just a bug that's canceling all of them.
I think no skills on horses is a good state for balance. Just given the landscape of clays right now, I'm not going to give
But
any.
no, like Vic says, like if he wants to war cry on a horse, what's the difference between war crying on a horse and war crying on the ground? And my Ogmir, what's the difference between me smoking a pipe on the ground and smoking a pipe on my horse? Like some stuff like that, like should be usable on a horse, but like stuff like on my Ogmir, like I reduce incoming damage or deflected because I'm standing still. Like maybe I shouldn't be able to do that because technically I'm moving on the horse. No.
Yeah, but I'm also telling you right now, as a mage, if I'm on horse and I hear a Thursar war cry and he's on his horse, I'm just gonna take my hands off the keyboard. There's no point. He's just gonna one-shot me.
I'd like to touch on something that was said in chat real quick.
Mhm.
The Shadow Man TV's got a real hard-on for me. It says, Vicness logic is if you want to play with a small group, you're not allowed to play the game. That's not what I'm saying, dude. Entirely, if you just want to play, keep your small-time energy, go ahead, 100%. What I'm saying is, I shouldn't be punished because you want to play in a small-time group. I don't want to play in a small-time group. I have very grandiose designs that require a lot of bodies moving in the same directions. I want to be rewarded for putting in that time and effort into a game. Just because you want to stay in a small group, dude, doesn't mean my scope, my limit, has to be limited to your small-time gameplay. That's all I'm saying, dude.
I mean, I think
You know, there's a lot of that in the community. It's just because, hey, because I play this way, your playstyle should be nerfed. Like that's
Yeah, I
been
mean,
going on for the
most of the
last couple
guilds out
years.
here are going to be empire building. They want to have a keep. They want to have territory. They want to have something like that. So, like, we shouldn't have to bend the knee to people that want to stay in a small tight group.
yeah, I'm gonna say like I don't think like Henrik ever envisioned like a keep to be held by a 10-man guild or anything. This game
Hell
is
no.
envisioned for larger guilds and like a larger infrastructure, you know, to keep these keeps or the castles and stuff like that. So I think the game is designed around a bigger guild, but there are ways for smaller guilds to definitely play the game. You're just not going to be able to achieve some
Right.
things that larger guilds can easily achieve. You know what I mean? So
Which falls in on the alliance we were talking about earlier. Ally with a guild that's going to have a keep if you want benefits.
wait, what? Say again?
You should align with a bigger guild if you want benefits to the keep. You know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, like, that big guild is going to have to worry about you double crossing them.
I mean, I still don't agree with that, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I think if you want access to a keep, you should join the guild with the keep. That's my own personal opinion.
I don't know. I'm kind of split on that one. I can't say one
Like
way or
they
the
can
other.
open the gates for you, but I don't think you should.
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
think you should be able to open the gates
see,
yourself.
Okay, I understand. Like, maybe if the guild is in there and you want access to it, they have to open the gate to let you in
Yes,
physically.
correct.
You know, like, I see both points as valid points, but I can't. I don't know. I don't know which way's better.
I mean, the game's not built around small-scale PvP. Game's built
It's
around
not.
large-scale PvP. Small scale, like 10v10 little fights, aren't what's going to keep Mortal Online 2 alive, dude. It's that large-scale player-driven conflict that's going to keep the fucking game alive.
And I think that's further reinforced when you have Henrik holding these fights and he's trying to get like 400 fucking people there, because
Yeah.
that's what Henrik wants for the game. It may not run very well, but that's what he's aiming towards. That's the direction he's going, is to get
Yeah.
these huge fucking fights on screen running smoothly. You know.
Yeah, they're testing
So-
how many people they can fit in one node fighting, not asking 10 versus 10.
Can you turn up the guy under space?
Yeah, I saw a clip this morning of Ice, one of our new streamers in the community, saying that how impressive it was. And you know what? It it kind of put it into perspective for me how hard it is to pull that off, that no one else is pulling that off. Even though it looks weird and it was kind of like teleporty, it didn't crash until Seb, like, you know, reset the server itself. So it's holding up well. They just need
Yeah.
to tweak a few things here and there.
So with the graphics he was talking about, you know, we're on 3-dimensional graphics, so that's a lot of objects to spawn in one area and have server reporting on all these different assets such as bodies and armors and locations and stuff like that. It's a little bit different, you know, when you don't have, well, in games like Eve, when you have all these huge freaking battles, because it's such smaller assets that are being spawned, and they're just being spawned a different way than what we're looking at in first person asset wise. So it actually is like a pretty big accomplishment, but people compare it to games like Eve and they're like, oh well, you're only getting 400 people, but they have thousands. You know, it's a different comparison.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of connectivity, I did want to bring up that video that Snazen made. That was such a really good video. I just wanted to see what everyone else
Talking
thought
about the one
it.
with the ping.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I had been saying that shit for months after ping normalization came out. I said, hey guys, it doesn't fucking matter that they came out with ping normalization. You still have a benefit in PvP. And everybody was telling me, no, Vicness, you're just really bad at the game. You're just shit, dude. Everybody's the same now. And then Snazen comes out and makes one fucking video. Very well formatted video, you know, he explained his points very accurately. And now everybody's saying, oh, EU still have an advantage. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Sometimes I just really hate you guys, you know what I mean? Like,
You know, the calculations might not be like 100% on point, but
Oh, he was
When-
100% on point. He was
well, when
it was
you
so
s-
exact. It was to the frame exact. It was precise.
when you see the animations not even finished and you already hit somebody, like, that's when you know there's a problem.
I mean, the issue is simply, like, it's palpable. Like, if somebody who's from EU can attack and parry at the same time, and I, as an NA player with 160 ping, cannot attack and parry at the same time, then it's not ping normalization, dude. We haven't achieved the goal that ping normalization was supposed to achieve. There's still a very distinct advantage there.
There is.
Is it a coincidence that all of the fucking EU players happen to be the best duelists in the game? Wicked, you know, member of my guild, arguably one of the number one duelists in the game right now. He's fucking EU. He's an EU player. I can't beat him. I could never beat Wicked. Is it just ping based? No, 100% it's not just ping based, but there is just, he has that much more of an edge because he has the low ping to the server.
Yeah, I think they need to revisit some of the normalization.
That's very funny though. There's always the arguments that people brought up. It's not a 1v1 game, but now we're talking about 60 milliseconds. I mean, isn't that kind of
Well, 10 EU versus 10 NA, who's going to win? Same skilled players.
I mean, I don't know, like that's team fight tactics at the same time, but I mean, when we are discussing this, it's we're not saying it's a 1v1 game. We're just talking about those instances when you will be in a 1v1 situation.
I mean, that was the whole reason I got up off foot in MO1. It was because of prediction and ping advantage. I didn't even want to deal with any of it. I just started playing as an MC because I could hit people for billions and not give a fuck.
I mean, don't get me
Billions.
wrong. It's obvious that there's a difference and that that the carries relevance. But I think if that was solvable, other games would have solved it already. Much larger companies who have a lot bigger resources, they would have done it. And I don't think we'll ever get it in this game. And I think we just have to live with it. It's sad, but it is what it is.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
I don't know if Star Vault's more dedicated this time around to fixing stuff like that. I think they'll continue to work on it for a while.
Elon
I mean,
Musk
they're kind of
fixed
pioneering a lot of this. Yeah, they're pioneering a lot of this stuff. They could be the first ones to figure it out. You never know. Like, they have some really, big brains on that team to pull off a lot of what they've already pulled off.
Yeah, Henrik even mentioned a few things have been pioneered that some friends in other big industries that make games said that they're doing a great job with. So I would like to see them come through. I'm rooting for them.
Let's not even get started on the Australians. They're playing an entirely different fucking game than we are.
Poor fucks.
Oh, man, I feel for them. I really do now.
Fucking. Whenever someone brings up Aussie Ping, I just think of my guildmate Jordan and just fighting him is so funny sometimes. Like, I was getting mad at fighting Omitis last night, and we're both NA East, and he's hitting me from 2 player lengths away, and then I fight Jordan, and it's just psst, way over there. He just pink, hits me in the head. I'm just like, what? Hello? And it's delayed as shit too. It's crazy. And he's from Malaysia, so he has that Aussie-ish kind of ping.
I gotta say though, there's at least one Taiwanese player with around 200 ping that could parry excelled overheads. There's people who have very unstable connection between 70 and 150 milliseconds that I know who can parry most of the excelled swings. So, it sucks big time, but I think a lot of people can work around the ping issues most of the time.
I think a lot of people do work around them unless somebody's really freaking jumping over the screen.
Yeah. The thing is that if every different person you fight, let's say you're an A or an Australian player, you fight an NA player, in the middle of that fight, you have to get used to that timing, get used to that ping delay. And then if it's a group fight, let's say he backs off, you beat him, right? His NA buddy comes in or his EU buddy comes in. It's a completely different fight now. You're playing 2 different games, almost 3 different if there's another Australian player there. And you're kind of using your skill and your kind of eye to hand coordination to figure out, hey, this is the timing on this, and you have to do it on the fly essentially. And then there's so many different ping variances that it doesn't feel good, of course, but
yeah, well, you should be reading every different player you interact with, adapting and trying to overcome it.
Well, yeah, but latency puts in a completely different dimension to that. Does that make sense? You should be able to do that. Most players do. But yeah, that other dimension just makes it almost unfair sometimes because it doesn't feel like the regular, exchange.
I have a very simple strategy for dealing with EU players, and let's just put another fucking player on them. 2v1
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
That's literally it. That's the only thing right now.
Well, that's all my talking points. I don't know if anybody else has anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of tapped out. Does anyone have anything else they would like to talk about?
130 FOV must.
So what does that change? What does FOV? Explain it to people who might not know.
Gives you
So,
the peripherals of a god.
yeah, the point being, currently in team fights, it's you have to be aware of your surroundings, right? And that's a good thing. I think it adds to the skill ceiling in team fights. However, it is very easy to abuse for two people that the fact that we have a very small FOV. If they just coordinate where they stand, hit you at the same time, it's pretty easy for two people to kill one person, which is fine. But the reason is not because they're playing it very well. The reason is you don't see enough. So the standard in those games like this is, you know, let's say have at least 130 FOE, which is kind of okay, and that would already add to the skill ceiling. So it would increase for good players the clutch potential. It would make that you're less out of position in team fights when it's not actually your fault, and it still doesn't give you no fucking god vision. So it just would attract a lot more people that are used to these games and that are used to actual normal vision. And I don't see why really they don't give you that option.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that your vision should be limited to the fucking helmet you're wearing. Like, if I'm wearing a fucking
That would
mercenary
be cool.
helmet,
That would be cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
I should
I
have some
agree with that as
interrupted
well,
FOV. It's a downside to using that heavily protected fucking helmet, but increasing FOV to 130, practically able to see like over your left and right shoulder. I don't know, dude. Like, yeah, it'll make you that much better, sure. But that's just one more thing that makes you that much better than everybody else. The casuals trying to get in the game and play it. I don't know.
I do believe you should be limited to your helmet, depending on what helmet you're wearing.
Yeah, would be great, but that would add to you know, you could just not wear a fucking helmet.
And get your
Just
dome
go
chopped
RP
off.
it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'd be fine with that. It's just a standard that people pretty much got used to, and I don't see the backdraw of it.
I mean, you're increasing the skill ceiling, and you know you want it higher and higher and higher so that you can be just that much better. Because obviously you're a better player than the casual that comes into Mortal Online too. But you're just greatening that divide. I don't know.
Another point why that would be necessary though, we had a person in the general Discord from MO2 showcase screenshots of him adjusting his computer resolution using a widescreen monitor such that he could actually achieve, higher FOV. So there's people with the correct hardware who can achieve it, while other people who don't have that hardware can't achieve a higher FOV.
Wouldn't he have that advantage regardless? Like if we increase the base FOV, wouldn't he be able to expand it further regardless?
Even
Yes.
more, yeah.
But at some point, stuff starts to get very deterred, very small. So at one point, it's not very viable anymore.
Okay, I have
So
to
if
use
you
the.
give- if you give
Sorry, I have to use the
everybody
restroom really bad. I'm sorry. Keep going though.
So if you give everybody the option to go to 130, you don't necessarily need to abuse it,
I don't know, man. I mean, it's like the difference between a first-person game and a third-person game. First-person game with 130 degrees of, field of view, might as well just give them press P for third person. I don't know. You can see behind you anyway. In a game
Yeah, it's
where
pretty
already
similar.
you can just snap to the left, snap to the right, deduce all the information you need, and play the game. Like in duels, sure, if you're getting 2v1'd, guy in front of you, guy behind you, there's no real turn cap right now that would stop you from just turning around, quick seeing which direction he's attacking from, parry it, turn back around, hit the other guy. Like, that's still entirely possible. But you give somebody 130 field of view to where they don't even have to fuck with that. They could just, look straight in between, still see the guy on either side of them, and parry them perfectly. I don't know, dude. Like I said, it just increases the skill ceiling, makes better players that much better, makes casual players that much worse. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
And
some
then you
people
have
are
to-
running
you have
with
to
high
also-
sensitivity.
Yeah,
They have really high sensitivity, but also the ping as well. Being EU, you could probably parry anyone that's not EU for days. Like it would compound upon the problems we already have, I think.
Is higher skill ceiling bad though? Like for me that sounds like a pro argument, not a con argument.
I mean, if you just need to be that much better, sure, dude. I hope you get your 130 FOV. I'm not gonna sit here and argue about why we shouldn't have it. You know, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. But whenever it comes down to a game where percentages matter and you just have that much percent advantage over your enemy, I don't know. I don't like that much. If they add it, sick, dude. Great. If they don't, whatever.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. If it's there, it's there. I might use it, I might not. And if it's not, then
Well, what if?
The thing to
How come
think
we
about
don't
is
have
free
a?
look also.
Yeah,
Free look, we're missing that.
I was about to say
we
the
are
same
missing
thing.
free look.
Like alt turn
free
head.
look is something we need. Yeah, because in Tarkov I use free look a lot, and that's something we do need here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You can't turn your head while running. Like why?
Daisy mechanic, snap your fucking neck, turning around, looking behind you.
Well, you have to look all the way behind you, but
Like
to
an
the left and
owl?
right.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, it should be like 45 degrees each direction. That's it.
I mean, you already have the snappiest turn rate ever, dude. You can already just 180 in a second. So, especially on horses, you pretty much have free look on horses. You can keep going a direction, turn around, and look behind you.
Which makes
I
no
think-
sense, by the way.
I think it's more like if you're running one direction, you want to just keep running straight and just hit a key and look to the left or look to the right and just keep moving that direction. But I mean, you are right. I mean, you can kind of spin around and walk backwards really fast and then go back, moving forwards. It's just kind of like I don't know, a luxury thing I would like added.
I mean, it's kind of a sprint break, which we don't have in the game, which we need in the game, or sprint breaks, which is where you would take damage and it would pull you out of sprint, which would make sticky backing somebody that much more effective, that easier. That's a mechanic I'd like to see in the game. I don't like chasing down fucking Velas and only getting the ability to hit them twice and then they're just gone, fucking took off into outer space. But if you give me stand breaks, I force them into the PvP, I give my other guys the opportunity to catch up. That's a mechanic that I'd like to, maybe see implemented. It was in MO1, sprint breaks, and they were great. It made the pole sword that much better of a weapon because you could sticky back somebody, you could sprint break them, you could keep them in the fight rather than let them just disengage and run off into the wilderness.
Would that then extend to like bows and shooting someone in the back?
I mean, I'm sure Bose also
Oh,
was
damn,
taking
it's
any amount of damage while you were sprinting and you didn't have a skill that specifically allowed you to like subsist through that damage, it would break your sprint.
I think sprint breaks would be good. I mean, if you get hit with an arrow, you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, what is that?" and then continue running.
know if I
That
was
sounds really
fucking-
good to any role that their main move in PvP isn't run. Like for mages, like you can't stand. Well, you can stand your ground against a foot fighter, but you just parry. There's no DPS return. And there's no risk for said foot fighter, to just keep pushing you and pushing you until you make mistakes. But for mages, Henrik has made it that their main gameplay is if someone pushes you, you just turn around and run. That'd be terrible for the entire role completely.
Just put a shield on your back, dude. Be a turtle mage.
Yeah, I mean, if they hit the
Yeah, the
shield and
thing
it
is not
blocks,
that-
it shouldn't take you out of a sprint.
The thing is not, the problem's not whether you can survive it or not. It's just returning DPS. Like, it's a PvP game. You're telling me in the middle of PvP, I have to stop my DPS just because they're a foot fighter? I hope they are coming up with things like staff magic, which sounds, really good for that role. But as of right now, as it stands for persistence coming in, it's in a terrible state as of right now.
I guess I wasn't really thinking on it in a way that it would affect mages, but more in a way that would affect the huge difference in speed between heavy builds and light, fast Vela builds.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
mages, they're not designed to be in melee. If you're a mage and you get into melee, that's on you. That's you misplaying your own class. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially, you get to stand back and do free damage. I can't parry your fucking Thunderlash, dude. You're gonna get those off as long as you can cast them. I have a whole
That's
demographic
true.
of players who are designed to dive mages, who are fast and designed to dive mages, and we have
That's
to
what
do
I'm
that
about.
because mages get to sit back and free cast. They can do all the damage that they
Yeah.
want to do.
Mages should
It's,
be
it's
far
not
enough
really
back.
it's not really free cast. Like the range is to where you can get one spell off, right? One stored spell, and by the time you start charging, there's a chance that if you get there in time, you can interrupt that spell within, if it's a big spell. If it's something like outburst really fast, it just goes off. But if it's a big spell like another T-Lash, you should be able to interrupt that with at least a 60% chance. Like we tested it with our foot fighters.
I mean, I think there's a big lack of CC in the mage class, but I can tell you right now that shit's
Yeah.
coming. Like, you're gonna be getting your hard CC, and it's gonna be annoying as fuck, dude.
The problems with
Yeah,
mages,
because
I
right now
find
it's terrible.
right now, is that Vila fighters can completely out stamina. It doesn't matter if I'm faster. If there's a Vila foot fighter in the other group, he's gonna catch me 100% of the time. He could run from the other side of the
Every time.
fight through the fight, and I could immediately start running backwards, having used no stam, and still eventually out stamina me because it's like 260 stamina versus like 330, 340. Like there's no shot I get away from
Yeah.
this guy. And if I pull out my
Blade
shield to
is
parry,
shit.
fucking drains it immediately. So it's rough fighting Vila foot fighters as any kind of dex mage.
I mean, I think that just comes down to a PvP dynamic. You should have contingencies in place in case you get dove. Either it be a backline fighter, it's all he does is protect mages, or a pet or something. But definitely, you know, as it stands now, sprint breaks would be a solid contingency against, you know, Vila's diving. Because say you do get dove, and that big, slow, dumbass Thursar in the back line with his huge fucking axe hits that Vila who's sprinting around him, fucking doing circles at 450 movement speed or whatever the fuck it is. And he gets his sprint broken, and then he gets jumped on, and then he dies. I don't know. I think that would be dope, honestly.
It'd make people think twice about mage diving.
I mean, it's a risk versus reward thing. If you think you can get out, get the kill, you know, get in, get out real quick,
Right.
sure, dude, roll the dice. But, you know, if the group is prepared and they have the plans in place, they have the fucking PvP doctrines, and you don't get out because your sprint was broken, dude, more power to, you know, like, I'd love to see that. Because right now, I'm telling you, bro, there's no fucking way I can catch a Vila as a Thursar. No fucking way. Even an Ogmir, no fucking way they can catch a Vila. They're
Usually when the Vilas start running, you need a mounted.
I mean, isn't that fine though? Velos, they sacrifice quite a lot. They have super low HP in comparison. They have incredibly lower damage bonus. They have less
Just-
strength. They take fucking parry damage, well, blunt damage from parries.
You just got to look at the Clade by design. Your Vilas aren't your fucking heroes. They're not your guys in there just doing god tier work in the back line. You know what I mean? Like they're not designed to be your fucking frontline fighters, your guys carrying team fights. They have a very specific use case, which is dive and kill low HP individuals, dive and interrupt mages. Like that's really the only fucking use for a Vila. It shouldn't be the guy up there keeping the fucking line together all by himself.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm saying. They don't. If you just hack on a Vila, he will die because he takes damage through his parries. So why shouldn't he at least have the chance to disengage? I think Vilas at this point are actually quite fine.
No, they should have the chance to disengage. It's just talking about the, you know, interrupting their sprint. You know,
Yeah, and if they
they're-
have that, they can't disengage anymore. That's basically the point.
Right. Well, that's like if they're just leaving everybody behind because nobody can keep up with a Vila, right? You have to call your mounted to go catch up with the Vila. So, like, if I'm an archer, then I can now shoot the Vila, and my guys might have an opportunity to catch up instead of just getting left in the dust.
I mean, it's the same argument we had about the ability to engage and disengage at will with a mounted because they're so fast. It's the same way with
Yeah.
a Vila. They can engage and disengage at will. Maybe you
That's
add
a
a
good
sprint
point.
break for mounteds. Maybe you like mounteds to have a little sprint break if they take a certain degree of damage. I'd be fine with that, dude.
Yeah, to the horse. Yeah.
That would be fine.
Well, I mean, that would make mountains pretty obsolete. They take like a 60 damage longbow arrow, and they get sprint break, and they're charging you, then they just stop their charge. Like, that'd
Well,
be a
not
slippery
entirely.
slope.
It's not an entire like dead stop. Even a sprint break is an entire dead stop. You're still moving. You can still go forward. You can still instantly
It's
reinstate
just a
your sprint.
slowdown.
It's just a slight stutter. That's all it is. It's like a
I mean,
blink.
it kind of does that already when you take damage as a mage or as anybody on the sticky back, the other end of it. You do have a slight stutter. When you take the damage, it does give you a stutter step almost to where you're not moving at full speed. So it kind of already does that.
Just saying, dude, if I was sprinting away from somebody and they hit me in the back of the head with a hammer, I'm telling you right now, I would fall right to the fucking
Yeah,
ground.
it's clearly
Damage.
realistic.
Yeah. That should be a knockdown.
I'm just not sure how it would work out for team fights. If you would just try to back off a bit and you would constantly get fucking hammered, if you even can come back from that, if you don't have the chance to space out a bit.
I mean, you only need like what, like a second or two of a gap to get away. It's not like I don't think it would be that big of a game changer for Vilas. As long as he's not already hitting you, you should be able to get away, essentially,
Right.
as a Vila.
I mean, they already have the jump cap. They can jump higher than anybody else. They can just jump over something while they're running away.
Yeah,
jump
let's
up on
not
top
talk
of
about the
something.
jumps. They're broken.
They can
I
jump
hope
with their
that-
weapon out.
Yeah, I hope that gets somewhat reworked because it's it's not a good mechanic in my opinion.
What, you don't like jump 360s?
No, fuck that. I very much dislike the idea of jump reposts that are no, that's just not good.
Yeah, completely off your screen, does a fucking 360. It's like, okay, dude,
Yeah.
you got this one.
I mean, I can parry it, but it's not good for how the game looks and plays at all.
Does anyone in I was about to say quack. Does anyone in chat have a question they would like to ask? We're pretty much going to be wrapping it up here soon. If anyone has a question or a topic they would like to talk about. No questions. Anybody?
Who's
I don't know.
clicking
I don't
hard?
really know what the delay is.
This is your moment.
Who's spamming their mouse button right now?
Who is people? Rolo. Like, what do you mean? It's Assassin, Crackwing, Vicness, Donsky, Space Ghost. Thoughts on bounty hunting? What do you guys think about bounty hunting? I mean, they've made mention of bounty hunting, right?
Yeah,
Didn't they have
actually,
bounty
I've
hunting in
been
MO1?
Yeah, they did. I was looking at the system, and actually, I'm going to try to do a service to work around it, because if you put a bounty on someone's head, it gives your name, right? Obviously, I'm an assassin. You know, it's not RP, but I will provide a service that you can do it anonymously. You know, so you're not war decked or put on a KOS because you put a bounty on someone's head. And it's kind of an interesting system. Nice way to make money too.
Bounty hunting, I think, in theory, would be great, right? You go out, you kill the player, you return their head, you get a little bit of gold. But what does it accomplish? That fucking dude's just gonna res, and he's gonna be doing the same shit. You know, like, I don't think it's a definitive thing for anything. You know, and there were bounties in MO1 in the form of you put a work order on a broker for somebody's head. That guy just kills his fucking buddy, turns in his head, gets 100 gold, easy grips, win-win. You know.
Yeah, that's my
really
problem with
depends on how they
bounties.
implement it.
It's way too easy to be exploited. Just get free gold.
Like, if I found out I was worth 1,000 gold, I'd just get my ult, kill myself, turn in my own fucking head, and get 1,000 gold, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a system Mortal Online 2 really needs. If you want a bounty on, like, a keep or an asset or something, you just hire Merc Guild if you're incapable of doing it yourself. See if they can siege it down, pay them gold. That's about as bounty and definitive as you're going to get in Mortal Online, I think.
I mean, I think maybe bounties should be NPC controlled. Like, basically, you'd go to an NPC, and it would give you maybe a bounty on whoever has the highest murder counts on the server, something like that. And you bring them the head, and you'd get paid for that or something.
I think this should be player designed, man. I, as Crack Queen, pay whoever, you know, I give somebody the actual task of, hey, kill this guy, and then I'm gonna manually trade him 100 gold for the head.
Okay, well, but what I'm saying is, what's the difference between going on Discord right now and saying I got 100 gold for whoever gives me this person's head and records the video?
That would also work, right? But as soon as you implement the system in the game, it gets abusable.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a player-driven conflict, you know? Like, if a player wants another player dead, he wants him killed one time for his head, and that head be the, you know, how he gets his reward or a video or whatever. Let that be the player who puts out the bounty. Let them. We don't need a whole mechanic on that shit, dude.
Yeah, it's just for, I think it's for bragging rights, because I think you can put heads up in your keep, house, whatever you have. And yeah, you just post it on MO2 screenshots or something like that.
Well, currently heads don't even have names, anyways, do they?
No, they do,
No, they
and
don't.
they do when you pick them up. But once you transfer them or put them in the bank or something, it loses the name.
Yeah, it's a bug I think they're gonna work out.
And I've bounty hunted in a lot of games, you know, like Star Wars Galaxies and fucking GTA 5 RP and stuff like that. And I've always really enjoyed it, but I just don't see a place for it in Mortal Online. There's nothing definitive that you can take away from somebody just by killing them for some gold, you know? Like maybe if they took like if you make it a system and you gave some tradable resource, this person has so much of this resource and somebody put a bounty on them, and that person who killed them and turned in their head would then get that resource for whatever means. Maybe it's a special vendor or some shit. I don't know. That would be the only way I could think to implement some sort of bounty system. But if you're using it as like a revenge tactic, you know, some mounted gripped you and you put a fucking bounty out for his head, that's not going to be an inconvenience, you know.
No, it's not going to be an inconvenience. You'd
I
have
think-
to have a larger system that would give that person who died to the bounty the penalty.
I think
than
there's
just
just
rezzing
no
at a
way
priest.
to avoid it being exploited. Like you're always gonna have a friend who could just turn in the head for you, and you just
That's exactly
pocket the
point.
gold. Like it's.
That's
I
why
don't
you
understand how you would ever get around it.
That's exactly why you need to make it just, you know, one person interacting with another, just as in real life.
But even then, like, how would you know they killed them? Didn't just hand
Well-
them back their gear and then split the gold with them or something like.
Well, if I want to kill somebody from, I don't know, Kodo, I'm gonna hire someone from Legion, for example. You know, I can the reputation of the guilds or the specific person that you hire should mean something to you, so you can control what's actually happening. If you implement a game system around this, you lose that control and it gets abusable.
I mean, say we add a system like it is an NPC, and you can put a bounty on there, and whoever accepts that bounty, say it's like a one-person contract where only one person can accept that bounty, and the target then becomes similar to a war deck, entirely killable to that person wherever they are, be it inside of a city or what have you. Then you would just get people fucking constantly doing that to people they don't like. Like, say me, for example. I would have bounties on me every fucking day, and I'd probably be getting gripped up because of it, dude. So, I mean, if once you put it into a system, it becomes entirely exploitable. I don't know. I think it should definitely stay. I don't know who would be interested in just getting one kill off somebody for some gold, but that would be a player interaction thing. I don't think we need a whole system for it.
You would
Yeah,
just
just,
need to leave it into the players' hands and like have like a message board in every town, you know, that it advertises your services. You know, you can just be like, hey guys, I'm a bounty hunter. If you want someone dead, I'm your guy. And you can go to a board to check out people who do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on like a message board where we could put custom messages up and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't see the difference in knowing people in the community and being like, hey, bro, I want y'all to go, you know, gank this guy and send me a video, give me some proof.
I mean, that shit already happens, dude.
Shit, it already happened, so I don't see any difference. But I mean, a message board would be nice to display like notes and stuff like that.
Would be nice, RP.
There's a question in chat that's been asked a few times, and it's thoughts on city quests coming up for rep.
What kind of city quests?
I don't know. I would assume it would be go do this thing for X reward. Maybe it's
I
Yeah,
don't,
so
game or something.
I don't
Henrik-
think we're getting that.
No, Henrik said in stream that that's going to be what the rep system moves to instead of farming risers, like Vic said earlier. And I was trying to say it, but, you know, I didn't want to interrupt anyone. He said you'll be able to do stuff in that town from a specific NPC to gain rep rather than go out and do risers that nobody saw you do and
Okay.
gain rep.
So what would those include besides Rizars?
Riser heads, it could be bandit heads, it could be clearing out, you know, wolves out in the, you know, forest somewhere. Kind of things like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Like little wolf paw trophies and things like that make them useful.
I think when they make heads have to be delivered to the town to get the rep too would be a much better step than it currently is as well.
Okay.
Because
Well,
then
let
people
me.
can sell the heads and stuff for rep or whatever, you know.
All right. So then we'll come to this one. So what if you're negative rep and you can't get into the town to sell the head?
That's a good
Well,
answer.
Place the NPC at the gate or somewhere else. I mean, that's not that hard, right?
I mean, then you would just go farm Rizars, I guess.
Yeah, just
But if
maintain, and
it's
then
a-
at that point, it adds a different. You're right. It does add a dimension to combat because if your rep is in a terrible state and you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to murder count me or not, you know, you have to make a right decision. Do I want to go
Well,
bandit for the rest of my career on MO2, or at least in this area, in this region, or do I want to pull off and go do some rep quests?
So Vic, you just said go farm Rhizars, but like Henrik said, that's the whole thing. Like they're gonna take farming Rhizars away, and this is gonna be the new rep system. So like if you're negative standing and you need to get standing with that system, but you can't go in town to turn in those heads, like there's got to be a way outside, maybe a vendor that's far enough outside the gates where you can turn in those heads to get standing to go back in the town.
I think we're understanding it wrong. I don't think we're taking away the ability to get rep by killing Rhizars. Eventually, most things that you kill that are, negative mobs or whatever, evil mobs, you're gonna get fucking standing for, be it, Minotaurs or Rhizars or maybe the Thorax or shit like that. But additionally, they're gonna add this secondary way that you can gain rep, be it like small fetch quests inside of a city or like a mob killing or something like that. I think we're gonna have both, and I don't see a big issue with, adding
Okay.
both.
I had talked to Henrik and DM about this situation, and it was my understanding that, just killing something wasn't going to give you the rep. You actually had to turn it in. So then it would be more of like, if you need rep and you get ganked and they take your heads, then they turn it in and they get the rep instead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there has to be also risk reward for being a red player. Like you can't just be red and just automatically turn to blue. It doesn't actually work like that. For a risk reward system. If
Yeah.
you're permanently a bandit to some territory, that's just how it's going to have to be until you're able to, you're probably, you get cut off from trade from that city. You probably have to go to a keep and trade from now on. There's other options, of course. It's not the end of the world if you can't go into Tindrum anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see it to where I could just go farm Rhizars and eventually get back into the town. I don't know. I was under the understanding that was just going to disappear completely, and you had to provide some kind of proof.
I don't know. I think it would be dumb if they took away the ability to get standing by, fighting world bosses or, special mobs or something like that. I think it would make much more sense to have both mechanics implemented.
Yeah.
They've also taken away our Dreadlord title. They've taken away the Blue Kill titles, which is shitty. I guess it's for the reason that they don't want to, breed the idea that you farm players for titles, which kind of sucks because I actually love that fucking Dreadlord
Okay,
title.
so if you killed so many blue players, they actually had a title that said Dreadlord?
Yeah, it was 1,000 blue kills got you a Dreadlord title. It was also scaling, so there were other titles, the Wicked, the Atrocious, the
Right,
Heinous, Dreadlord, and they took that away just because they don't want people out there farming blues. Additionally, they took away, the red color for your nameplate, which I don't like at all, I'm a red player. I've always been a red player. I enjoy fucking murdering everybody. I want to be red, I want my name to be red. I don't want people to look at my character and see a fucking blue name. I don't know why that's not a thing that they can to implement or change.
Right. Maybe they're trying to hide the fact that people are red players so they can't murder count or something.
I mean, murder counts are only an issue as long as you don't have TC. If you live in NPC towns, then sure, you're worried about murder counts and reputation. I'm telling you, as soon as I get a fucking city up, dude, I'm not gonna give a fuck about murder counts or reputation.
Yeah, it's not gonna matter. Yeah.
All right. I think we'll probably go ahead and end it there because we only have 3 minutes left. So, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Is there anything else the guests wanted to say about anything that was discussed? Or
No, I would say thank you all for having me. I enjoyed being on here with everybody. I love everybody in the community. I know that we're all out here fighting each other day in and day out, but
It's all
I
in
usually,
fun.
I
Yeah,
usually
no,
put
good
that
fun,
to the
nothing
side. I
personal.
like everybody. So if I kill you in game, I mean, it's nothing personal, man. It's straight business.
It's a PvP game, man. Got a PvP.
sure.
So
All right.
politics get heavy, drama gets heavy, but at the end of the day, it's all business and part of the game.
Alrighty. Well, I want to thank you all for coming out. Donsky, Space Ghost, Vicnus, Assassin, Flamebear, and Crack Queen. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you
coming.
for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for the
For the
invite.
opportunity.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. See you
And,
guys later.
Yep. Have a good one,
All right.
guys.
Later,
Good to head
guys.
out.
Take care,
Peace.
guys.
Boom, boom. Thank you, everybody in chat, for coming, too. We're just going to go ahead and end the stream. I can't raid or host anybody from YouTube, so I'm sure there's people on MO streaming right now. Maybe Bratwire is streaming. But thank you guys. I really had fun streaming this. I think we got a lot of good feedback and good conversation in general from the guests. I hope Starvolt was watching. I don't know if I saw Henrik in the chat. I don't think I did. But hopefully he goes back and watches the VOD, and I'll send it to him. So hopefully they can definitely look at some of the stuff that we talked about, because I think a lot of it is a big concern for a lot of people. So hopefully Starvolt definitely considers the feedback that they're getting from the community, from people who are actively playing the game. Because all these guys here are active players. Like, they're not people who played 6 months ago. Like, they're playing today, you know. So thank you guys for coming out. I really had a lot of fun. The next podcast will be on Saturday, on the 2nd, I believe. It'll be at the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. I don't know who's coming exactly yet. I have a couple confirmed, but I don't know everybody who's coming yet. I still got to reach out to some people. If you guys would like to come on the podcast, my DMs are always open. Just let me know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you like the channel, subscribe, follow, whatever.